Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504(c)(2), Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Matt.
And we're here to talk about Hook, starring Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Bob Hoskins, Maggie Smith, and Charlie Korsmo. Based on the famous Peter and Wendy by J.M. Barrie, directed by Steven Spielberg, released in 1991, and, has a bit of an interesting reputation. It was a big hit at the box office, but if you ask old Steve, and we're on first name basis now, we can say that. If you ask old Steve, he's not a big fan of this one. But a couple of our friends here are, so we'll get into it as we go. But first things first, Ryan, we're excited to officially welcome you as a permanent member of the cast here of Film Strip. So yay! You were on your first review with us was The Talented Mr. Ripley, episode 325, and then you were on The Last Airbender, episode 333, and most recently, our Shocktober 25 capper with Dawn of the Dead, episode 435. Tell folks a little bit about you in case this is their first podcast, and since this was your idea, what's your background with Hook?
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be a part of this family. I've as being a guest star, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and now that I am, I guess, a pillar of this group now, or something like that, I'm so happy to be doing this moving forward. A little background on me, I guess. I guess I'll start a little bit. I am a theater kid, first and foremost. I am a big old nerd and an animation geek. I had the pleasure of meeting Lindsey 8 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
8 or 7 years ago. Yep. And we hung out in a Winchester parking lot talking about costuming and
After an audition.
Yep, after an audition. And we really hit it off, and we've been really good friends ever since. And then she abandoned me for New Jersey. But she was the one who was like, hey, do you want to come talk? Because she had always told me about Film Strip, and I had kind of heard about it and how much she enjoyed it. And she was like, do you want to join us for a podcast? And I said, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then you guys were like, do you want to talk about a movie that, potentially you want to rage about? And that was Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I guess that, somehow you guys were like, okay, she's pretty cool. Or if we were like, we tolerate her enough, so we'll bring her back on.
It only took us 100 episodes to get you back on.
It only took us 100. When you said that it was like episode 330 something for Last Airbender, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been a very long time. But I'm so happy to be a part of this group now. And you guys were like, for your first official episode, pick a movie that you really love. And this is actually one that Lindsey and I talked about when we were recording Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was, we had watched the movie, and I was trying to show her how awful that film was. And I was like, let's watch a couple of the animated series. Let me show you what it's like. And we had paused at one point, and I said, for those who have ever watched the animated series, I paused at Zuko, and I said, do you know who voice acts Zuko? And she said, no. And I said, that's Dante Bosco, who is Rufio from Hook. And she's like, I love that movie. And I was like, I love that movie. So this has been 100 episodes in the making, Lindsey.
And several years, yeah. We keep talking about it, and we keep threatening to do it, and now here we are doing it.
Here we are. Yes. I guess in regards to my background, it's kind of a little fuzzy because this movie came into my life because I think the movie came out in 1991. So I would have been 3 years old. So that was not my first introduction to it. I think I was somewhere in my preteen years when I started watching it, and it was my parents. I know that. And I was just fully enamored with this film. And that's saying something as like a preteen. And I definitely feel that this movie has um, been something more to me now that I've gotten older, as certain films are. But that's my background on it. Jay, what about you?
Uh, I'm going to save mine for a second because I want to hear Matt's on this. Because Matt, we got you on the podcast because I told you we were doing this, and then you just randomly texted me that you were watching it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Guess who's getting invited on the show now?"
Yeah, well, I love this movie. You guys saw my replica Hook. I've got the beautiful Drew Struzan poster hanging in the other room.
Yeah,
This is one of
check
those-
the Film Strip social medias for a picture of that, by the way, folks.
Yeah, and I weirdly, this is one of those movies, again, 1991, I was 87. Hold on, I'm bad at math. 87, 88, 89, 90, 90. I was 4. So I didn't see this in the movie theater. Even if I had my family, we didn't go to the movie theater a lot anyway. So even if I had been old enough, I probably wouldn't have seen it in the theater. It just wasn't something my parents, took us to the movie theater a lot anyway. But so when did I start watching this? Was probably at some point. I probably picked it up at my local video rental place, and I remember having it on VHS at one point to own, and I've always enjoyed it a lot. It's one of those movies, Jay, you mentioned its weird reaction. This is one of those movies I didn't know was quote unquote a bad movie until the internet existed. Like I had no idea that this wasn't a movie that critics enjoyed. And so it was
That's
like
dumb.
yeah, it is. It's weird. And so I don't know. I always like to throw it on. I don't throw it on like super regularly, but it is a good November movie because it's a quote unquote Christmas movie because it starts with them, going to London at Christmas time. So it's to me it's a great November movie. So I don't watch it necessarily every November, but maybe like every other November or something like that. I'll throw it on. So
That's fair. Lindsay, this is, as you've already professed, one of something you love. So what's your background with Hook?
I love this movie. I actually sent my mom a text while I was watching it tonight. I've seen it a lot, but I haven't seen it recently. So I did feel like it required a quick rewatch. And I sent my mom a text and asked her if she remembered whether or not we went to see it in the theater. And she was like, no, we definitely didn't see it in the theater. I think we just rented it and then we ended up buying it because my brother and I were obsessed. So I also sent my brother a text and said, dude, I'm watching Hook. It's still really great. And he goes, Hook like Peter Pan? And I said, yeah, with Robin Williams. And he sent me the text, Bangarang? Question mark. And I said, Bangarang.
Bangarang.
He was like, oh man, what a blast from the past. So this was, I definitely saw it very shortly after it came out. It wasn't a movie theater watch for us, but it was just one of those movies that we had on all the time when we were growing up. And there's so many little things that kind of live rent free in my brain and a few I forgot. And it's just like a wonderful little movie. And I did forget that it took place partially, or at least like during Christmas time. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, what a perfect time to review this movie. Because a while ago we had talked about reviewing it in like the summertime because we knew there was a baseball thing and it's on an island and it's kind of summery feeling. But November, perfect time, happy accident to be reviewing this, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it came out in December too, so it was definitely positioned for that. And this is, we're kicking off the month of December with this one for us here. And first off, though, how can I be by far the oldest person on this podcast? But my point of reference for Bangarang is friggin' Skrillex. So,
okay, well, first of all, that's not
Don't
a bad
know.
thing. Skrillex is incredible.
This is
I'm just throwing that out there.
yes, no. But that when I heard that, I was like, oh, so that's what that's from. So
is this? Yeah, what's your background, Jay? Is this the first time you've seen it? Did you watch it?
I've seen this movie twice. I saw it when
Okay.
it came out on video, I guess in 1992. Now, in
Okay.
1991, 92, let me just set the stage here and desperately age myself since all of you were nice enough to do that for our audience. Jay was like 15. So
Mm.
I was beyond like Peter Pan being a thing. Not that I would have hated it, but I was in that in between stage of what I liked from childhood and then what teenagers was going to be. And also at
Hmm.
this point in my life, y'all, I cannot explain to you how like deep into music and trying to do that I was. So like movies sort of took like a 3 or 4 year just back burner for me. So I didn't
Hmm.
see anything for a long time. Until I got to where I could drive myself, and that became my theater sojourning and all that. Because back then, going to a theater was cheap. But I remember us renting this because as a family, we had seen Robin Williams in stuff. Dead Poet Society was something that I really resonated with, and that even as a kid, and my family really liked it. So we rented it, and we liked Spielberg. He was kind of my filmmaker growing up. I mean, being a kid of the
Hmm.
'80s, how would it not be, right? And so I was always down for that kind of thing. So we watched this, um, and I remember thinking like, because again, I was a teenager and it wasn't really for me. And I didn't
Hmm.
think about it again. I hadn't thought about this movie in forever. I knew Spielberg had made it. I had heard through the years him talking about how much he didn't like it. And I always wondered, I'm like, well, I wonder what it is about it he doesn't like. And so I actually dug a little bit of that up, and we can get into some of that as we go. But for
Hmm.
me, though, the big sticking point is Peter Pan is a very like I don't know what it is about that story, y'all. It has always struck me as so incredibly sad, which should appeal to my like sensibilities because I'm all about the sad bastard music. But
Hmm.
they just,
It's
I
not a
don't know.
phase.
It's yeah,
No, it's a lifestyle.
it truly, it truly is. But I mean, there's something about it that I don't know. I always found like really profound, but also it just spoke to a part of like having to let go of childhood and all of that
Hmm.
stuff that just is it's a tough transition for anybody, and it
Mhm.
was for me. And I think when I got around to Peter Pan, all that stuff, like that always struck me about it, that part of it. So I
Hmm.
held on to that piece of it. So I didn't have this like real, I don't know, driving reason to care about it again. So when I went back and rewatched it, the only things I remembered about it at all is I remember Robin Williams and feeling like Robin Williams was handcuffed in this movie. And I'll talk about that as we go through it as to what I mean by that.
Hmm.
That, and I remember how incredibly awful I felt Julia Roberts was in this. And we'll talk about whether or not I still think that's true or not. But I know why she got cast in it, and we can get into that in a bit. But I remember those two things. I didn't remember anything else. And so watching it again this time, I was pleasantly surprised at like almost how new it felt. Even though I knew I'd
Hmm.
seen it. Like I'm like, I remember this feels familiar, but gosh, it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. So which is fun for me because on Film Strip, that's the joke is try to find something Jay hasn't seen. And so I've watched too much stuff. So I'm
I've got one for you, Jay. We'll come back to it, but I've got one for you.
I accept all challenges. But you just re-invited yourself back up for an episode, by the way. So just so you know. But anyway, I remembered that, and then watching it again this time, though it felt like a new movie in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
But it has a lot of people in it that I generally enjoy watching work. I like Robin Williams in pretty much any form he worked in. He's just one of the best performers of the generation. And I try not to think about the sadness of him being gone, but what he left behind in terms of a acting resume and performances and stuff is that every one of them was something. And this was a year before he really, I felt like really really hit mainstream because Aladdin came out, and that just, speaking of an
Yeah.
animated thing, put a pin in that one because I'll talk about that movie all day. Because
We
even though
have put a
I was
we have
definitely
put a pin in it.
I was definitely a teenager for that. Boy, I jammed for that movie all the way, which is funny.
Hmm. Hmm.
But animation always has a certain kinds of animation have a real soft spot for me, and so that one was. But I forgot how good Maggie Smith was in this. I love her in just about
Mhm.
everything. I also love Bob Hoskins, and
Yeah.
I can't think of anything I've seen him in where I didn't like him. I maybe didn't dig all the stuff he did, but I like him. He just gives a performance, and it's just he can be so many things. Like I think back to, you want to go way back in Film Strip Archives when we did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Anna and I really geeked out on just how good he
Hmm.
had to be to pull that off at the time, acting against
Hmm.
literally nothing
Yep.
sometimes. And he's incredible in that. He's even good in like these bad noir movies he got cast in the 90s. He was in this one with Tom Berenger called Shattered, which I think it lives on
Hmm.
Tubi. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend rewatching it. He's the only thing worth watching in it, but he's good, and I dig him in it. But anyway, to circle around on it, I didn't have fond memories of it, but I only ever saw it once, so I don't judge it too hard for that. And I went back and rewatched it this time, and I logged it on Letterboxd, but I specifically didn't rate it because I was like, I'm not gonna don't really make clock me on that. I don't want to spoil my thoughts too early. But yeah, you're not wrong, Lindsay. Is that it's practically new to me at this point.
Yeah, and I think watching movies that you saw and loved as a kid and getting to see them from the adult perspective, we talked about this some with Monster Squad too.
Yeah,
Getting to
yeah.
see it from the same movie, but now from the perspective of being an adult is
Mm.
an entirely new and different and not unpleasant always experience. And
Mhm.
I would say I mean, I haven't seen this movie for a while. I didn't find it to be an unpleasant experience watching it from the view of, being an adult now and not an
Yeah.
elementary school kid.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I think as an adult, that's one of the neat things about having done this podcast for as long as we have and stuff is I've gotten over that fear of like going back to things that you loved as a child and like, what if I don't like it
Hmm.
anymore? And
Hmm.
I can at least appreciate it from well, I know why I liked it then. And then there's a lot of things that now as an adult, I see completely differently. We've had this conversation offline before, Lindsay, but like I remember seeing, Grease when it did like a 20th anniversary in theaters or something. I think I was in
Hmm.
college and it had been years since I watched it. And I remember walking out of there going like, why did my parents let me watch that? Oh my God. And I didn't know,
Yeah.
I didn't realize like how like it tamed the stage show down until years
Hmm.
Right.
later when I saw that. And I was like, oh my God, but
Mhm.
I saw it as differently as an adult and experienced it differently as an adult. And that can be fun too if you'll, uh, my friend Brock has always said, you got to be willing to give a movie its opening or its mulligan. Like it's a
Mhm.
conceit. You got to give it. You got to meet it where it starts, and then if it works for you, it works. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. But you got to at least meet a movie with what it's trying to do for you. And this one is an interesting take on the whole Peter Pan story because rather than just retell that, for a new generation, Spielberg said, "No, I really want to do Peter as an adult who's caught up in this corporate machine and then he gets thrown back into this fanciful world and how would he deal with it?" And I can't help but think because it's so throughout his career that Spielberg was projecting a lot at that point in his life because
Hmm.
at this point his name on stuff just got stuff made,
Well,
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
he may have done that at some point, but you know who gets the story credit on this? One of the two story credits on this, Jay, not the screenplay credit, but the story credit because he wrote it, is
Mhm.
Nick Castle.
I saw that.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is wild to think about. Yeah, most
Hmm.
people know him as the original Michael Myers, and then he
Yep.
reprised it a few times in the David Gordon Green trilogy. But he's
Yep.
also the director of The Last Starfighter, which is also a childhood favorite.
Yep, he was the one. So this film, eventually Spielberg did it, but this film was a Nick Castle idea.
I see that, and that's so funny to think about. But
Yep.
it's again, you put people in the box that they're just known for or whatever. Because Nick Castle, the reason he's Michael Myers is because he was there. I mean,
Hmm.
that was
He
it.
was there and he walked
He
interesting.
walked cool.
Yep.
And hi, John Carpenter was like, "Hey, bro, you do this." That was it. So,
I
um,
had also heard that for Once Upon a Time, this was also supposed to be a musical.
I was going to ask y'all that, like, what would you? Because when I was watching it, I'm like, this looks like and feels like a musical, and maybe this is. I've just watched Wicked a lot, in the last month,
Mm.
and it's on the brain. But I was like, this kind of feels like it should have been a musical. It staged like one for sure.
It's built like one,
It's better
definitely.
that
Well,
it's it's better that it's not.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, you are right, Jay. It is kind of built like a musical, from the costumes to the set to the physicality, because you've got a lot of actors that are in this that are very physical actors.
Mhm.
Um, I'm really glad it's not a musical, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah,
I am
I don't think Dustin
a-okay
Hoffman
with
could
that.
rip a chorus out for anybody, and I don't think we need to
I
hear
don't
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, I love Robin Williams, but I mean, I
There's a
don't
certain
know.
kind of song he can do, and I don't know that this would
Yes,
work.
the talking
Yeah.
kind. May
Yes,
he
yeah,
rest. Yes, yes,
yes,
as we've learned from like Aladdin.
yeah.
But I am a-okay with this not being a musical. I don't think I would have loved. I don't think this would be what I find. I don't want to say it's a cult classic, but
Hmm.
to me, it feels like a cult classic. Like kind of there, like it's kind of like it's got its own niche. I don't think it would have been enjoyed as much if it was a musical.
Yeah, that I agree
Yeah.
with. Yeah,
Because this was nominated for a Razzie,
yeah. Which,
which
F those people
Yeah.
anyway. But
but wasn't but which is crazy because I think it was also nominated for Academy Awards as well
Mhm.
at the same time. So it's and I know we'll talk about like how Steven Spielberg feels about all of this, but um
Yeah. I
yeah.
think again, Spielberg has always been one that kind of wears his emotions on his sleeves anyway, and I don't mean that as a bad thing. He's a big heart, and
Hmm.
what he's going through at the moment influences a lot of not only what he's doing at the time, but how he feels
Hmm.
about it in retrospect. And he's at this point doing this movie, and he's in pre-production on Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, which talk about a whiplash.
Hmm.
He's got a lot
Yeah.
going on that's beyond this because I mean it took him years to shoot Jurassic Park, so he was shooting that
Hmm.
while this was in post, and then doing Schindler's, on the
There's
other
an
side. So,
interesting tie to Jurassic Park with this movie, which I learned
hmm.
about. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to hear what that is because I don't know that actually.
So the actor who played Jack, the and I feel really bad that I can't remember his name. But the boy who played Tim in Jurassic
Yeah,
Park
yeah, yeah.
also auditioned for the role of Jack, and he didn't
Oh,
get it. But Spielberg was like,
Mm.
"Well, I've got this other movie coming out called Jurassic Park. Let's put you in
that,
that instead."
yeah, that's Joseph Mazzello played him
Yes,
in
thank
Jurassic
you.
Park. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, Charlie Kurtzman's in this, which is
yeah,
interesting. I didn't know
he
that.
yeah, apparently he auditioned for Jack and he didn't get it, but he's like, "Hey, we'll give you this role in Jurassic
I'll,
Park."
I'll be honest
That,
with you. I mean, you can
I
kind of
love a good
interchange them.
consolation role.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah.
you know what? Yeah, you can kind of interchange them. Yeah, one was in Hook, which is people remember it, and then
Yes.
one was in one of the biggest movies of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fun cameos in
Hmm.
this that I
Yeah.
didn't catch until because I also was like you, Jay. I did like a refresher because the last time I saw it was like in my, I'd probably say like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
But I was really great for the refresher because again, it's that thing of
Oh,
watching it as an adult is something
right.
that is because I will say this because like I feel like generations like this is such an interesting movie just because from the standpoint of you have children and you have adults and you have those people in the middle that don't know if they're a kid or if they're an adult.
Right.
And any other instance of that comes to mind is the Toy Story franchise
Good point.
because you start with Andy as a kid, and then in the second movie, it's like they're talking about, oh well, eventually he's going to grow up and he's not going to want his toys anymore. And then in third movie, it's like he's going off to college. So like that, and that generation kind of like slowly progressed into that
Hmm.
feeling, at least for me,
Yeah.
where
Well, because
and
Andy grew with the
right,
age. Yeah, it was
exactly.
very linear progression.
Right. And so I completely agree with you, Lindsay, and with you, Jay, is that when I first watched this, I had a specific perspective on it. And then when I was in my 20s, I was like, yeah, okay, I think I grasp it. And then watching it today, in all honesty, because I needed the refresher, um, it adds a new perspective to it.
Hmm.
So I think this is a movie that definitely grows with its audience, whoever's exposed to it.
Which is
Um,
funny because that's kind of the whole central premise of the movie that Castle came
hmm
up with was like, what if Peter was an adult and then
right.
got thrown back into this thing, which, that's a Hollywood trope that's been done in a lot of different versions. Like I think about um Tom
Lost
Hanks
Boys.
in Big is kind of like that.
Mm.
Big's a good
It's
one.
yeah, it's what is that if you had a teenager in this body of a
hmm
30-year-old yuppie, what would that look like, and which
Right.
is fun. And or, even something like Back to the Future where you've got this the fish out of water story, but you got this kid that's the future kid is back in the 50s. And the whole
hmm
conceit of that is Bob Gale saying, like, I looked at my dad's high school yearbook and realized I would not have been friends with my dad in high school. In fact, I would have hated him,
Right.
and then be like, what if you had to save your dad?
Yeah.
How could you do it? And
And then,
um,
yeah, because you've got like 16 again, 13 going
Mm,
on 30 is another
yeah,
example where
Peggy
it's
Sue
like
Got
you,
Married. That's one of my favorite
yes.
obscure ones. But yeah,
Oh,
so
wow. I haven't watched that in a very long
it's
time,
been a minute
actually.
too, but it just popped in
Yeah.
my head. But yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of that. Yeah, 13. We've done 13 going on 30 with our friend Lindsey in New Zealand before, and she and I talked about like the time travel conceit in that movie, and what is real and what's not, and all that stuff. But
hmm
it's the same idea. It's like when you throw yourself back in these situations, does it work? And you're right there. I mean, this thing is littered with tons of cameos from teenage Gwyneth Paltrow to Phil Collins and all these other things. But
To Jimmy Buffett and David Crosby and
yep.
Glenn Close
I mean,
also.
Crosby as a
Glenn
pirate
Close. Yep.
is a little on the nose. So he kind of just looks
Ah.
like one.
Oh, and Carrie Fisher and George Lucas as
Yeah.
well,
I mean, yeah, I could see. I mean, again, Steven has always been good about his friends and,
which
just
is nice,
yeah, hanging
Just,
around. Well, it's hey, Steve, you think I can just walk on the set there a little bit? I'm doing our Ron to do our George Lucas impression about it, but because I can't do it as good as he can. But yeah, I mean, I like that kind of thing though because it can be fun. The trick is can you do that without it taking you out of the movie?
hmm
And that's a balance, and we can get into as we go. But yeah, so.
right. Oh yeah, we have to go through the Chat JPT story.
I guess it's that time, right? So,
It
all right,
is.
let's tackle the old hook plot, which is basically a feature-length indictment of the corporate dad lifestyle, with an aggressively colorful design. All right, so this is the story of Peter Banning, played by Robin Williams, a man who grew up so hard that he forgot he was actually Peter Pan, and traded immortality and magic for a crippling fear of heights and a job as a mergers and acquisitions lawyer. So imagine a much shorter, somewhat less suave Richard Gere from Pretty Woman character. His whole life is conference calls and missing soccer games, which sounds oddly like now. And this terrible adult has finally catches up with him when his kids, Jack and Maggie, while they're visiting Granny Wendy's London nursery, are kidnapped by the gloriously over-the-top Captain Hook, played by Dustin Hoffman, who literally is so evil he twirls his mustache with Bob Hoskins earwax. Peter Pan's backstory is revealed. So he grew up, obviously, and now he's just a flabby suit, forced to fly back to Neverland, and with a very put out Tinkerbell, who's there to be like a disgruntled travel agent, but also unrequited love, which is strange. But anyway, we'll get there. The humiliation deepens though once he gets there because Hook finding that this man that he is obsessed over in a way that is hard to imagine. Like imagine the way Bret Hart obsesses over the Montreal Screwjob. That is Hook. He finds that this man is so beneath him at this point that he's like, well, you're not going to be much of a match, but I'll give you 3 days to kind of get it together. So Peter meets up with the old Lost Boys Treehouse gang, which are led by the deeply cynical but ultimately cool Rufio. Love that guy who and his whole reject the fat bearded bald man, his mantra. And then Tinkerbell, who shrinks down to human size because physics are merely suggestions in this world, of course, and attempt to get Peter to find his inner happy thoughts through an intense, mandatory fun involving food fights and emotional breakthroughs. The clock, of course, ticks though because Hook performs a shockingly successful campaign of psychological warfare to turn the children against their perpetually absent father. And in a scene that proves that the power of imagination and maybe some latent midlife crisis energy works, Peter finally remembers how he used to love playing pirate and transforms back into his green tights wearing, gravity defying self. Eat your heart out, Adina Menzel. He rallies the Lost Boys with an enthusiastic bangarang, not Skrillex, but it should have been, for the ultimate HR mandated team building exercise. A massive chaotic battle on the deck of the Jolly Roger, which is a set from a musical probably that Ryan and Lindsey have been in at one time or another. Peter eventually defeats Hook, who then is hilariously consumed by a giant taxidermied clock crocodile who took his hand, making sure that his final form is both ridiculous and symbolic. Having rediscovered that his truest happy thought is being a present father and reconnecting with his children, Peter returns to London, now magically cured of all his bad parenting, and is ready to embrace the occasional backyard flight as credits roll. And that's the Chat GPT version of Hook. I think I pretty well covered it.
I had
was
to
good.
mute myself
That was good.
because I was laughing so hard. Jay kept laughing at
Don't
me.
mute
I'm
that.
certain.
Never mute that.
Yeah, never
Trying
mute
to
the
be
laugh.
nice.
Let's talk about this podcast is as loose and fast as the gear shifts in Too Fast, Too Furious. So there is you just go ahead and let it roll. If you haven't listened long enough to know that now. Know what you've gotten yourself into, Ryan.
I already signed the contract, people. It's too late.
Yes,
Yeah.
Too late to say sorry.
you're in. Yeah. Let's
I'm
talk
in.
about where the movie opens though with Peter as a grown up. Because there's something about like late 80s, early 90s office jobs that only exist in that era because it's pre-internet taking over our world, right? And all the memos and faxes and hundreds of people throwing paper at you. I get stressed out with the number of email I get in a day sometimes. I can't imagine that many people trying to talk to me. Like I felt really bad for Peter, and I feel like this is when Robin Williams is he's in another movie at this point. He's in the yuppie gone bad movie, or I'm put out by it, and I need a vacation movie at this point. And it's a different start. It wasn't what I expected because I didn't remember anything about how this movie started, and I didn't remember that part of it.
I remember that part of it because every
Yep.
time someone goes to say, like, they're taking a flight or I'm flying to the city or whatever, it takes actual energy for me to not say, don't let your arms get tired. This is
You
one of the
said that
things,
to me when I flew to see you.
yeah, this is one of the things that lives in my brain that I never remember where it came from, and now I remember because it
Now we
was
know.
in this movie.
I legit was talking to my mother before this recording, and I was like, I forgot so many things that we quote that come from this movie, like "Looky, looky, I got hooky."
Oh, that's right.
I was just like,
That's a
but
good
yeah,
one.
that's another like it sneaks into your brain and you just don't know it. But yeah, it does kind of like start off as like what I think, especially in like early 2000s, especially like Disney, it's like, oh, dad works too hard and he's not there for his kids and his wife. But it does because there's like it's faxes and his phone, like there's no silence button, like that wasn't existing during that point. And bless Moira because she's got so much patience at the beginning. Well, for about 20 minutes of this film.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get to Carolyn Goodall because I've seen her in other stuff. I didn't remember her being in this.
Yeah.
And so it was neat to see her again in this.
Mhm.
Because I remember her from, such bangers as like Cliffhanger. And also Who Could Forget Her in the Princess Diaries. I've seen her in a lot of stuff through the years and like her presence in a lot of ways, though I feel like she's a different look. She's also in Shattered. She was in a movie called Shattered Glass, which I really love. It's probably the best Hayden Christensen acting job ever. Mostly because it's a real story, but she's really good at it. And but I like
Which
her.
is a low bar, but
Well, fair, but I would say watch that
Of
movie
course.
sometime, and you'll see why people thought like this guy can act. Like he's pretty good. So He's
Yeah.
playing a jerk from New York. It's a little on the nose, but it kind of is what it is. But
Yeah,
Personal
but
offense
I
for that,
mean,
but
but all of this sets up kind of, you said you were talking about like Spielberg feeling at certain places in his life, but isn't this a place like a lot of, especially, I mean, now, not being a parent myself, it's hard to say, but my understanding is now parents are trying to be better about work-life balance and spending some more time with their kids. But isn't this a point like everybody reached at a point? I remember being a kid in the 90s, my dad being at work a lot. He just worked
Mhm.
a ton, not
yeah,
because he was a bad dad or anything, but because he genuinely, he had me and my brother and a house and a wife, and my mom worked too, but only part time. And he just genuinely was like trying to make sure our life was okay. And this movie is showing it a little bit differently. Like I do think Peter in this is more obsessed with his job, not necessarily in a like I'm trying to be good for my kids kind of way, but I think it was just a thing that a lot of parents went through and probably still go through, especially, with everything getting more expensive. So there is a part of this
hmm
that rings true to like you have to rediscover that part of you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
yeah. And
yeah.
the way looked at him and read it this time was that looking at the character as a whole, like what we know about him, is that Peter doesn't remember his childhood at
Mm-hmm.
all. It didn't
Hmm.
start great. I mean, he was in an orphanage, as it were, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and all this, and then he goes off to this magical place for who knows how long, right? Before what convinces him out of it is he falls in love,
Mm-hmm.
so with Gwyneth Paltrow, which is fair, so so I mean, at the time it was a thing. So,
We
but
talk about Gwyneth Paltrow in Talented Mr. Ripley. We have opinions.
yes, yeah, and look, those are fair, but Brad Pitt did shoot Kevin Spacey in the face because her head was in a box, so that also happened.
Touche.
But
Mm.
spoiler alert, by the way. So, but yeah, I get that he's the whole metaphor, right, is that you forget your childhood and you become so obsessed with your career that you just get lost in it, right? Because you're trying to provide this life for your kids while not being there necessarily. But I'm with you, man. Like I remember my dad worked all the time, but I didn't think that was anything odd because it's just what parents did, and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Peter, in this case, has he doesn't have much of a childhood to remember, and if he did, how could you ever like it would be hard to function as an adult if your childhood was Peter Pan. If you were Peter Pan, for goodness sake.
I think though that there
Yes.
is like something that I noticed, especially like in like when I watched it today, is that what I did notice is that him as an adult, he still kind of occasionally throws, as we'll get into later, like a tantrum like a child. There's
Yes,
Yes, very
definitely
much.
Mhm.
moments like that. But one thing that I did notice that I didn't really pay attention to when I was younger is the stupid phone flipping, put it to your ear game. Like
Uh-huh.
I think that it kind of shows, and there's other little things that I think Robin Williams does at the beginning of this film that shows whether or not he remembers he's still Peter Pan. Like that game, it's a
hmm
weird game, but it's still a game. I just kind of was like, oh, there is some form of him that still remembers being Peter Pan. But as
Yeah.
is pointed out later, there's this weird muddling of is he still a kid of heart or is he a pirate at this point in his life?
right. And they bring that up too
Yeah.
because,
Mm-hmm.
when they go visit Wendy, Jack says, and any resistance, he just
Right.
blows him out of the water. And she says to him, Peter, you've become a pirate, By
Yeah.
the way,
hmm
Maggie Smith, I texted this to Jay when I was watching. Maggie Smith is responsible for an entire generation of children going, how is that woman 90 friggin' years old for 3 decades? Because
Right?
Yeah.
her age
The
makeup in this film
Was
on her
so
prophetic.
good.
so
Yeah.
good. Like you see
Yeah.
age makeup a lot of the time, it's friggin' bad. Like
hmm
you can usually tell
Yeah.
She was like a 50-year-old woman in that movie. She was not an
Mhm.
80-something-year-old.
And a young 50 too. She was a
Yes.
Yeah.
spry 50 at
It's
that point.
incredible. I
It's
was watching it
wild.
yesterday going, I cannot get. She looks the same in that movie as she looked naturally in the Harry Potter
I was
film.
going to say, there's a whole
Or
generation of people that only know
even
her.
later in
Yeah.
Downton Abbey.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the prosthetics on her was absolutely incredible. And I go back to the physicality because she fully gave in to the fact that she's like not able to move as much. And that's how I knew additionally these were prosthetics, because it's like she's gliding and moving and grooving in
Mhm.
like Harry Potter and everything.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
just I have to give kudos to like the
Well, and I
makeup
think-
and the costumes and the hair in this film, because
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
That's what I
Mhm.
mean by this could be a musical, because it's got
Yes.
that quality of like really good stagecraft stuff.
Even
Lindsay
the
and-
little play within a play at the very beginning, like
was
you can
cute.
tell
Mhm.
the costumes that the kids were wearing were costumes that their parents made, and it was built that way. So it was just
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
t-shirts that were chopped up with scissors,
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
genuinely was supposed to be like a little, it was so,
This is a school play.
it really
Yeah.
was thoughtfully, the like all of the costuming, it was thoughtfully done.
The opening of this movie, everything up until when after the abduction happens and Tinkerbell shows up, Spielberg says is his favorite part of the movie. He feels like he had it under control at that point. Is what he said. He said, I knew
Mhm.
what the story was. He said, that somewhere in the middle, he said, I just kind of lost what we were trying to do. And he said, I didn't think it looked great. He said, not that the stage work wasn't done well. He said the crafts were good. He said it just felt like a different movie. And he said then the epilogue felt like it matched the first of the movie, where the middle of it is a different thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, bro, you went to Never Never Land. Like,
Yeah.
it
Right,
should be
that's
different.
my point.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
and that's what I would
bizarre.
say
Of
in
course
retort to
it's
that.
a
It's like,
different
yeah,
movie.
you went somewhere else.
You went to the land of make believe, which is
Right?
like it's a magical fantasy world. Of course, it became something different.
It's right, right.
If
But it
you
is a
look
start.
from-
I mean, it looks different though. You look at the movie and the way that it was shot, and just the lighting and everything.
Sure, but I
you
think
know.
it's.
I mean, we should say Dean Cundy is the cinematographer on this, and
Yeah.
legendary American cinematographer.
But
Worked with Spielberg a ton, and he's responsible for that. Like,
and again, I think it's the right choice to have all of that look different and be lit different. I think it's 100% the right choice. It shouldn't look like back in London. It just,
Oh.
I don't know. Wow, that's an interesting critique to come from the people who made
You-
it versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had 3 moons rising in one scene. And when you're looking from like when Peter is flying, you can literally see the north, south, east, and west compass on
Mhm.
the water line.
Yeah.
Like, what did you expect was going to, like, you're
Mm-hmm.
in Never Never Land. It's supposed to be this fantastical world of pirates and kids that never want to grow up, mermaids and fairies and Indians and things like that. So of course it's going to be something completely, I'll say, chaotic in a beautiful way, because that's kind of what Neverland is, or at least what most people would portray it to be.
And it's got, well, and just in terms of chaos, Neverland is full of kids from literally not just different decades, but different centuries. There's
Yeah.
kids in
Mhm.
there that grew up, there's kids there from all across time, up to the point where when this was being made, in 1990, going into 1991, there's kids that skateboard and play basketball there. But that's because that's just the product of having people from the 1800s and the 1900s being, so.
And again, kudos to the costuming, because you could look at certain children and be like, okay, you're from this location or this location. But
Rufio
even
was an 80s kid.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
He showed up there in 1987, and
Yep. And even like the foods, the dinner scene, which I'm certain we'll get to, like some of them were talking about specific foods that seem to be specific to their location and their time, which was also really wonderful as well, because I think that's something that I appreciated this movie for, is that in the books and most other Peter Pan renditions, it seems like most of the children are from a similar age bracket, or at
Hmm.
least when they're taken, or
Right.
not taken, that's not the right word for it.
When they're
When they
lost.
come to, yeah, when
Hmm.
they're lost.
They're lost. Yeah.
But this was great because it shows that even children that are lost, like every so few years, it shows in their physicality and what they eat and what
Hmm.
they wear.
Well, I mean, this is a
Yeah.
theme in a lot of movies, particularly still Spielberg movies, is the resiliency of children.
Hmm.
Of
Yeah.
all the trauma you can go through and all the stuff that can happen, you can compartmentalize and escape it enough if you've got enough people around you that are willing to go on the ride with you, if you will, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
that's the whole point of the Lost Boys, right? Is this
Hmm.
finding camaraderie in the brokenness of it all.
right, and it
They're
still always comes out, right? Because the Lost Boys in the original Peter Pan story want a mother. Wendy is their mother.
Hmm.
She's there to do mom stuff for them. But then even in this movie, there's the kid that talks to Peter, and he's like, "You know what I miss, Peter? I miss my mother." And
Hmm.
at the
Yeah.
end, Rufio is like, "You know what I wish? I wish I had a dad.
And like
He
you, yeah,
was like you."
I
yeah.
love that.
Like,
I loved that because, throughout the movie, as you pointed out, Matt, like most of the revelation is that they want their mother. Like
mm-hmm,
even Peter talks about his mother,
Hmm.
and even Maggie brings up like he's a mean old man without a mommy,
mm-hmm,
Hmm.
and I want my mommy. And then you have the situation where it's kind of it's sweet because it's like it's not breaking necessarily the parental need, but that Peter eventually becomes the parent, the dad
mm-hmm.
that like Jack wants, which I think is
Well,
really
and it's
nice.
because even though they bring up moms a lot, it's a story about fatherhood, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
he has kind of forgotten, and his happy thought becomes when he becomes Peter Pan, all he ever wanted in life was to be a dad, which is why he left. We find out is why he even
That's
left
his
Neverland
happy
in the
thought.
Hmm.
first place. He left Neverland because he wanted to be a father. He wanted to grow up and have his own children. And so even though they bring up the mom a lot, it still comes down to like this man has forgotten what it even means to be a father. And
Hmm.
Moira has that great line in very early on in the movie where she says, "Peter, your children want to be with you. They want to play with you. You only get a few years where that happens, and
Yeah.
then, you're going to be chasing them around for some attention."
That,
Like,
and I don't have kids. I don't think any of us have kids. I don't have
no.
kids. But that line, because I have a lot of friends who do, and I have a lot of nieces and nephews, that
Hmm.
Hmm.
line hit. And I don't remember that from all the times
Hmm.
I've watched it. I have a coworker who has teenagers, and I remember him saying once in a meeting, and we were, doing that chat before a meeting thing. And he goes, I am going to every single thing I can possibly go to ever that my kids
Mm.
do
Hmm.
because of exactly that. He
Hmm.
was like,
Right.
I don't want to miss anything and I'm going to drive them crazy. And I know it and I don't care.
And
I'm going to go to
and
everything.
and
Right.
that is the Steven Spielberg influence of
Yeah.
this, because at this point in his
Hmm.
life, he did have young children, but he was gone for a
Yeah.
lot of it, and because he was working, and you can't really have him on the set that much, and he talked about that. He said he felt like he needed to be doing these things because it would make their life, what it is,
Hmm.
but he missed it. And I remember my dad even talking about like, and now that he's a lot older, he talks about like, I wonder if I miss some things. I was like, not really though, because I felt like he was always really active in things, but from his mind he did. I feel like all of that comes from like there's an entire generation of men that are traumatized by that song "Cats in the Cradle" by
Hmm.
Harry Chapin. And like it's
Yeah.
just wretched,
Yeah.
it's the ultimate guilt trip song of all time,
Hmm.
and there's some truth in it though too. It's just like you work really hard and you don't want to miss anything, but you're working hard, you're trying to provide, and then all of a sudden your kid
Hmm.
grows up to be just like you. And that's what
Right.
you fear, and we get to see Peter where he's got this big deal that he's going to blow or whatever,
Hmm.
and Edward Stuckey Jr.'s calling him on the phone, and he's dealing with this in London while he's on vacation, which how many of us have not been dealt with a work problem on vacation? I mean, right? Yeah,
My
and
ex-wife was
it's
really
annoying,
bad
but
about
like
that.
his kids want to mess with him and want to play with him, but he yells at him and like he catches himself doing it too.
Hmm.
I hate that. Well, Moira did because she chucked his phone out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Honestly, so cathartic. Who doesn't want to check a phone out the window
Hmm.
from
honestly,
time to
Every
time?
no, I
day.
completely agree with you. That scene drove me absolutely nuts just because so my dad has his own company, and like when we were growing up, of course we only had the landline. Cell phones weren't really a thing. So
Mm.
like if and my brother and I we're 2 years apart, and we were always like playing around, or we were in karate at the time, so we were always sparring with each other, and my mom would move us out of the room, and I'm like, Moira, what are you're just sitting there. And like
Hmm.
this was just my little small moment of being like, maybe you should take him out of the room. But then when she says, like, I hated the deal,
Yeah.
but I'm
Hmm.
also like, this is your husband's job at stake.
Yeah,
Maybe you
it's
should move the kids out of the room.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's like a fine line in that though, right? Because like yes, it's his job, absolutely, but it does reach a point where it's again, it comes back to like, dude, it's your job and it provides us a good life,
Hmm.
but this is at a point where like we're it literally in another freaking country visiting a woman that's 11 years old and could die any minute now that you haven't seen in like 13 years. You're here
Hmm.
with your
Hmm.
children. Put the fucking phone down and let somebody else handle it. I understand, but this is, it does reach, it's
Yeah.
also that point where it's like, come on,
I,
dude. Like you missed your
I,
shot.
I,
Also, the deal was killing the owls. Can we just
Yes.
talk
yeah.
about that for a second? Of
Lindsay,
course,
why
she
can't
hated
they
the
just
deal.
fornicate somewhere else?
I don't know, but it's the 90s and we cared about the environment in 1991 and 92.
Yeah.
And if
Fern
you've
Gully
never
told me
saw,
everything.
yeah, we have Fern Gully, we had the Rocco's Modern Life recycle musical episode.
Mhm.
Yes.
We
Yes.
had so much shoved down our
We,
throat in the early 90s about saving the environment and reduce,
oh,
reuse,
yeah.
recycle. This had to hit.
Captain Planet. Lindsay,
Captain
No,
Planet
you and
I could
is
me.
get.
a hero.
That should be
Yeah.
a special episode where we finally talk about our cast for Captain Planet.
I
Because
still have that
that sounds like a
recorded.
session's waiting to happen. Because I
Oh
got
Yeah.
no,
thoughts on Captain
it already
Planet.
happened. We just didn't
I
include
did
it
it.
in
I told
Avatar.
it. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it
But
needs to be its own thing. But
It
what I
really
think is
would.
funny here, y'all, is we're talking about this movie and we're spending this huge amount of time in the opening
yeah,
segment.
Yeah.
So,
no
I
kidding.
feel like
True.
as adults, we're all
It's
Fair.
like really relating to this,
I
even though we
I
don't have
think well,
kids.
there's a lot I think to get from the beginning,
Yeah.
and like whether you are someone who's very well adapt to the book, or if you watch the movies or anything like that, or even the plays rendition of it too.
Mhm.
Um, and and I will say, as somebody who has, and I think all of us have, when Wendy came down the stairs for the first time, I
Mhm.
got so teary-eyed because just the way she looks at him, and
Mhm.
knowing, like as somebody who's watched this for like 3, 4 times, just the absolute heartbreak of, and I felt this way for her and Tank, just being like, actually, hashtag everyone is obsessed with Peter. That is something that
Yeah.
I have noticed in
Yeah.
this entire
He
film.
wasn't even that cute.
Yeah,
And then you go
yeah.
to Robin Williams, which is like that's a wild thing to think Peter can become this little furry man. You know?
Yeah.
So furry.
Yeah. I mean,
Honestly, so much knuckle fur.
the
Yeah.
man is furry. Like
I know.
watch
Love it.
Moscow on the Hudson sometime, and just a lot of the fur is on display in that
Hmm.
movie. But
I did not know this until recently, but Dustin Hoffman's son, I believe Max is his name, is the one who plays young Peter that we see later in the series, in the movie,
Oh,
because
yep,
he
yep.
had
I could
both
see
of his,
that.
yeah, he had both of his boys
Hmm.
on set for this.
Yep.
And I think that his youngest was also a lost boy, but I
Yeah,
don't think he has
he's the young Peter Pan, and he's not the 8-year-old that talks a little bit. He's like the middle
hmm
Peter Pan
Yeah,
that's in
something
there.
like
But
that.
yeah, but his other
Yeah,
kid, yeah, he had his kids on set for this,
which
which
I
is,
think is
I
really
mean,
sweet.
there's something kind of meta about this because this whole movie's about like not involving your kids in your work, and
hmm
the actors' kids are in this. Spielberg, you can't get your kids on the movie. I mean,
I also need someone to explain aging in Neverland to me because Peter aged from baby to what,
I
12
I
in
did
Yes.
think
Neverland?
about
Uh-huh.
that. Yeah.
And
That
none of the
is,
other
yeah.
boys seem to have aged.
That's really
that's
the plot hole in the
yeah, that's a
film.
big
Mhm.
question I had too. But before we get to that, let's talk about how, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to talk much about the abduction. I get Hook's idea. He's obsessed with Peter Pan, like I said, like Bret Hart is obsessed with,
It turned
the
into
Montreal
a
Screwball.
low-key horror movie
It
for
kind
a
of
little
did for
bit.
about
Yeah.
2 minutes. Yeah, there's like a British horror movie. Well, I
Yep.
looked at this and I was like, this feels like one of those lost Conjuring ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Kind of
I
lives
I
in that world.
For
Or
I
sure.
think it, yeah, I think it was, and also like this is just, I think also this whole scene is to show just how pompous Hook is because it's
Oh.
like he had a very easy way to get in through the main window, but apparently
Yeah.
he went down the stairs, dragged his entire hook going up the
Mm-hmm.
wall. That was beautiful wallpaper, by the way, that he just completely destroyed, and I was very upset about that.
Yeah, I know. I was
And
like,
then,
that you're never gonna get that even again.
oh
No,
no.
no,
And
they
then
probably don't even sell it anymore.
No, true.
no.
Yeah.
And then he locked the door for Liza to like hear the kids screaming their heads off, apparently. And then he stole the
Mm-hmm.
kids. Oh, well, actually, no, sorry. He put the sword with the paper in the door and then locked the door and
Yeah,
then
you're
kidnapped
Yep.
the kids.
Well,
you're not wrong, Ryan. This is like a low-key remake of When a Stranger Calls all of a sudden for like 5 minutes.
oh,
It's
Yes.
yeah.
really, really scary.
Okay,
Which
yeah.
is, I mean, Spielberg's always played in the genre anyway, so I'm
hmm
not surprised, but I again didn't remember anything about it. When I watched it, I was like, this is a stark change of energy, like very quickly in this
Yeah.
movie. This
Well,
is kind of
even
spooky, you know?
even when the comforter was ripped off the kids and they're like like the Jack is
Mm-hmm.
screaming there and Maggie's just like, oh, I was like, why am I getting poltergeist vibes
It's
right now where
very
they're gonna get
poltergeist.
sucked
Yeah.
into the
I felt
closet?
like Robbie's tree was about to attack him
Right.
again.
There's
The
a clown under
clown.
the bed that's gonna
Right.
grab you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of that. And I give a lot of that again. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Dean Cundy for that, who also shot that, too, to go like,
Yes.
oh, so you want to do that again? Got you. And just redid the hit, which is fine. I mean, again, it's just a jarring change of you have this kind of comedic take of this dad who's put out by his own kids, even though he loves them and he doesn't know how to express
hmm
that anymore. All the stuff going on, and you kind of know who he is, but you don't know yet. They haven't revealed all of it, and then you have this 3-minute horror movie. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
Hook's there
Yeah.
and steals them. Okay, now we've done urban legend, Hookman, and
Yeah.
and then we get into the other part, and I teased it earlier, and I'm just going to say it right now. Julia Roberts is a problem for me in this. She really is.
She's the whole.
Tinkerbell is not a problem for me. I get who Tinkerbell is and what she's all about. The fact that she's obsessed with Peter, we can get to. It's Julia Roberts. And Julia Roberts was on a heater at this point, y'all. She'd come off Pretty Woman.
Mhm.
She had 2 big hits that year already. And look, they are warmed up Lifetime movies, but that was before we knew what those were. Dying Young and Sleeping with the Enemy are
Yeah.
are incredibly watchable $100 million movies. Like they don't make that adult drama stuff anymore like that. And she was bankable. So getting her to do this was a big deal. And
Yes.
I remember everybody like, oh yeah, she's a big deal to get Julia. And she sucks in this. I'm sorry. Tell me I'm wrong, but she is awful in this. Oh,
She didn't like this movie. Like she's been very
it
vocal
shows.
about how she felt like not included. She didn't like her costume. She didn't like she didn't I didn't really notice it until this time around watching that I thought she was rather awkward.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm getting all the tea right now on Julia Roberts that I didn't know about. I had no idea she didn't like this movie. I remembered she was in it. I liked her short Tinkerbell pixie cut hair. That worked really well
hmm
for her. I hated, and I mean, I like it because I used to have that haircut specifically because I liked that haircut on Julia Roberts in this movie. And then it got longer. So also I don't understand hair growth in Neverland, I guess.
Yeah, it's also very
well.
So that's a weird thing for me. But yeah, she has her several moments where she does her real quintessential like Julia Roberts big open mouth guffaw a few times. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's very that's like a trademark for her. But
there are definitely scenes where I'm like, she definitely felt comfortable. Like I love the part where she's like, he doesn't believe in fairies, and she's like lying on the ground, like being like a petulant child, which I appreciated. But then there's other scenes where it's like you can definitely tell that she's not feeling comfortable. But Lindsey, I love the hair conversation that you brought up, because one thing I noticed this time around is that when her hair did change, it looked like Moira's.
Oh, it did. You're right.
Well, there's that whole thing of like, he gives up being Peter Pan because he falls in love with Moira, who's Wendy's granddaughter, right? And it's like he married the child.
Poor Wendy. Poor Wendy.
I don't know that I needed that, though. I don't know that I needed that as part of the story, because there's no way to resolve that in any normal way.
No. No, I don't know. She's whatever in this movie.
Look, Lindsey, you talk about her hair, and I'm glad you liked her hairstyle. All I saw when I saw that was like, this is Shelby post baby and Still Magnolias. It's that hair.
Oh my gosh, it is Shelby post baby and Still Magnolias.
Lindsey, did you have that? I can't remember. Did you have that haircut in Still Magnolias?
I did.
You did.
Well, I had the wig because I had long hair when we did Still Magnolias.
I remember the wig, but I just immediately what I thought of was like, this is Shelby and Still Magnolias.
Yeah, I did not even think about that, but you are correct. And to your original point of her not being great, I do feel like in other versions of Peter Pan, the cartoons, can't think of any other version. I don't know, Peter and the Starcatcher, which is a play, but I feel like Tinkerbell she just feels Tinkerbell here she doesn't speak. She
makes bell noises.
She's ornamental, but she is more of a character, and somehow Tinkerbell speaking in Hook makes her less of a character. Or feel like less impactful.
She's the magical MacGuffin that can fix everything and get everything rolling. But because she has this unrequited love angle now, like we've given her story she didn't need. Like, it's one thing if, like, this is my best friend forever and you left me and I missed you because you're my best friend. Like, that I could buy and go with. The fact that she's, like, pining for Peter and however time works on that interstellar planet of Neverland, that, I'm like, I don't know that we needed that in this.
Yeah, but it's there in other... Tinkerbell loves Peter Pan. Like,
I get that. I'm saying for this movie, I don't think we needed that because there's a lot of conflict that's going on in this movie.
Oh, sure,
we didn't need that too. Like Peter's got a lot of things to feel guilty about. That doesn't need to be one of them.
Look, these ladies got the hots. Yeah, they got the hots for Peter.
Well, even Dustin. Let's be honest, Hook. It's the hashtag. Why are you so obsessed with me?
Dustin Hoffman's in love with it. Let's just be real.
When I was younger, I appreciated that Tink could talk because in most renditions, like you hear the bell noise, and Peter or the Lost Boys are translating for her.
Right.
So I think when I was younger was like, oh, this is some form of Peter that still can understand her, and this is like through his eyes, but. She's the weakest link, I feel like, in this movie. And like her scene later with Peter and the scene with Wendy where she's alone with Peter, where she's like, on my wedding day, I thought you were going to show up and forbid my vows. And I went, oh.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to kid?
Yeah.
Oh, she wanted to. Honestly, Maggie Smith owned that. Like, you felt
I know.
what she felt in that moment, and it was heartbreaking.
I know the whole thing, like whenever she looks at him, is like, and that's why I was like, I was getting emotional at the beginning, was this because Maggie Smith just does a fantastic job with this. Because even when
Hmm.
she's like, Peter, how do you like my dress? And he's like, it's lovely, and just ignores her.
Hmm.
And it's so sad because she's still pining for him in some way, shape, or form. And that scene, I was like, is she gonna kiss him right now? And he gets kissed so much
The
in this
mermaid.
movie. Three
Well,
kisses
they were
from a
giving him
mermaid.
air, to be
Yeah,
fair, but
Yes.
that's what it, yeah, that's the reason.
There we go. We're gonna go with that. Yeah.
I'm-
That's the reason.
Hashtag obsessed with Peter. So,
Why are you
I
so
mean,
obsessed with me? Why are you so obsessed with me?
right. Yeah.
yeah.
See, the only
Because
people that the only people that were really in love in this movie were Hook and Smee.
100%.
No.
I love Smee
Okay, Smee
so
rules. Like, I'm
much.
gonna say right now, I said Bob Hoskins is great. He is
I
awesome in this.
I
The two of
love the
them,
Hands
dynamic
down.
the
between the two of
This is the
them.
the
best
two
thing
of
in it.
them
Yeah.
consciously played their relationship like they were a couple of
Hmm.
I believe the exact quote was a couple of old married queens.
Oh,
Yes.
Very much.
it
Yeah.
really just, yeah, they
I
made that work.
What
I can
what
see him and Hoffman sitting over to the side going, "You want to have some fun with this?" And like,
yeah.
because these are two stage guys, like, so they're all about let's play
Yeah.
And
and
they
play pretend,
do
and they
it
they're digging that. That is. I'm
it
sorry.
shows
Yeah.
so well. Like in a mo and like
Yeah.
Spielberg was like says that he like kept it on the subtle part because it was a kids movie. To which my retort on that is there were some things in this movie that were not for children and
Not
you
at all,
were
sir.
okay with showing that with
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
old married couple
I
or
think
old
it's
married
because
queens.
it's 1991 is
I
that's what a
know,
lot
I
of that
know,
is.
I know, I know,
Mhm,
I
yeah,
know.
but I hear you. You're not wrong. It's the worst kept secret in the movie, but it's also like so what makes all of their scenes together fun because
So fun.
the Hook character could be ridiculous and kind of is ridiculous. That's sort of the
Hmm.
point. But Ho- and I am not a Dustin Hoffman fan. I think he's a fabulous actor. I don't always love what he does, but I feel
Hmm.
like I think the phrase is understood the assignment. You know, here like he got what he was doing, and then he brought a lot more to it. And then having Hoskins to play off of gave because I don't feel like he and Robin Williams actually are that great together in this. They've done better
Mm.
stuff together. I think they're not. It doesn't quite work, and thankfully they're not on screen a ton together. Hoskins is way more interesting with Hook and Smee as a character. It's way more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I actually felt that Hoskins was giving more to connect with Robin Williams in this movie because he's the one who's obsessed with him.
Hmm.
Like he went through that grandiose kidnapping.
Yeah.
Like even like had like because there's that conversation of like Jack's baseball goes missing. Like it
Hmm.
like they've been keeping an eye on them for a while now. And I think that what Hook or Hoffman is looking for in this is that he's trying to find a connection with technically, at least for a third of this movie or two-thirds of this movie, someone who doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
And it's like, it's kind of, but like I think that what I love about him and Hoskins is that Hoffman created, like they both created a character that's been existing without Peter Pan for a while.
Hmm.
Because that's the whole thing with Hook is that he's bored. He has nothing else to do other
Right.
Yeah.
than to die because
Because
he's
a bad
bored.
guy needs a good guy, and vice
Exactly.
versa.
Well, I mean, look,
Hmm.
what's that great scene with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight? He's like, I don't want to kill you. I wouldn't be anything without you. You know, the Joker
Yeah.
and Batman.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
no, like, and I love that for that. It's like, no, that's you got to
Right.
have both sides, and I appreciate that about what they're bringing to the movie together. You know,
Hmm.
Hmm.
like they just do. So, they clearly are having a lot of fun in it,
Hmm.
you know. And Dustin Hoffman's somebody who, when he's not having fun on a movie, you can friggin' tell. Like it comes through. He does not hide it very well. And when he
You
doesn't
like
like his
Sandra Bullock?
co-stars, you can find it. Like
Sorry, not Sandra Bullock, Julia Roberts.
yeah,
Sorry.
there you go. Yeah, that's a good one. But like he clearly got what he was supposed to do. And again, he's the quintessential mustache twirling villain,
Hmm.
and he's obsessed with Peter in this really unhealthy way. And lots
Yeah.
of I'm trying to give Hook therapy.
He killed the crocodile,
You
so
ca-
what else could he possibly do?
Mhm.
Right. It's
True.
well, and
True.
that the Alexander wept because there were no more worlds to conquer. There was
Hmm.
nothing left to do. Like, what are you going to do? And he
Take
built
up
up.
knitting. I don't know.
Well, with the one hand, that
With
might
that
be. I
hook,
don't
yeah, just the
know.
no, he could have like a little crochet like
You can
needle
get
or
that
something. Is
working on the other
look,
side.
if he
Uh-huh.
has a baseball mitt somehow in that, and
True.
he has a bubbly like
Hmm.
attachment, which I don't
Hmm.
know exactly how that works without making a mess.
No.
That felt
That
very transformery that we could swap the hook out
yeah,
for things.
I loved when he was sleeping. He has like a little night, like a little I'm thinking of like a nightcap that people put
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
like Scrooge, and like
Mhm.
and then he had a cork on top, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's he was
yeah,
scratch
like
himself.
yeah, I love that little those it's the little touches in this movie that I think are so wonderful, and that one just made me
I mean,
absolutely giggle because I would be
Yeah.
like, why does he have it? Oh, right, so he doesn't scratch his face.
see, these are the questions I always had about like when Freddy Krueger took a nap. Like, did he take the glove off? I mean, you think he would, right? He's got a real
He
Mm.
sleeps with
problem.
it behind his back or something like
Something,
that,
right? Yeah, you
or
can't
like
really
I don't
go to.
know.
I mean, you can go to
Yeah.
dinner some
He
places
doesn't.
without it.
Well, he can't sleep, so he invades other people's dreams.
That's it. It's
He's got like a specialty carpal tunnel glove that he puts on.
that's what it is.
He puts on like a grill mitt or something
There we
like.
go.
One of those
Get another
Kevlar
glove
mitts. Yeah.
Yes, the Kevlar
which
Yeah.
mitt.
works because he was burned. So that's that.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the only thing that was safe. That's all
that's
you
it.
know.
Yeah, the
You
other
never
Yeah.
one.
know because he's got the glove on the
No.
entire time.
Wait, I'll tell you the other thing that really works for me about the Neverland side are I feel like they nailed it with the kids as the Lost Boys. And I don't know how they pulled it off, but they apparently like cornered these kids off and got them to like learn. It's like the Sandlot kids in some ways. They learned how to be
Yeah.
friends
Hmm.
outside of the movie, and then they just let them do stuff.
Very important question. Who is your favorite Lost Boy and why is it Thud Butt?
I was going to say Thud. Rufio is a follow up.
Thud is pretty good.
That kind of rules.
Especially when he can pull his legs up to his ears.
Yeah.
And be a bowling ball.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay,
Uh-huh.
sure.
Free time.
Yeah. No,
That looked very Garbage Pail Kid. I'm not gonna lie, y'all.
Oh,
Like,
very
I
much
did.
so.
Yeah.
Like that's what we were doing there.
I love
like-
that little kid, the one that really is the only one that stays on the side of the line and
Oh,
really
yeah.
He
in
He
the
was
face.
great.
I loved that scene.
And
Like,
I
it
heard
was
an
so sweet.
interesting theory not that long ago that like even though he looks like he's maybe the youngest kid there, like what if he's actually the oldest kid there? Like what if he's
Mhm.
there the longest?
Ah.
Why when he recognizes Peter, they're all kind of like maybe it is Peter. Like what if that kid's like been there the longest, you know?
He
That's
talks like he taught like that little kid's lines really
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
he's
like
been around for a while.
he's basically doing like pulling your skin back, like liposuction. Like,
Yeah, he's trying to
be
see
like
Oh, he's doing the
you again.
facelift. Yeah.
Yeah, the facelift.
weight gain and he's trying to
Right.
see a younger, yeah.
Mhm.
And that's actually totally believe that theory. And I'm like thinking back to what was his costume during
Yeah.
that, because I think that really like
He had like a little
puts in
vest
that-
on, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
I
they were all
loved-
cute. I love that Robin Williams calls them like I don't think this is exactly the line, but like, what's with the Lord of the Flies like thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he references Lord of the Flies for sure.
Yes.
I
Oh,
loved,
God.
I loved Rufio's whole like get up. The
Oh,
whole
he's
like
so
band
cool.
director gone
Ah.
like punk rock
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Like he was cool. I dug
Mr.
him.
Skunkhead who uses too much moose.
Yeah, well, look,
That's
and I
what
mean,
Robin
like,
Williams calls him.
talk about again. This is a kids movie. That kid gets straight up ganked and killed in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I love
That's
Dante
right.
Basco so much. He was
But, like,
so awesome in this.
How many kids movies or kids shows that are created now, like do people just die in? I don't think
Nine.
that's the thing that happens
Mm.
anymore.
No, we
Oh,
can't do
hang
that
on.
anymore.
Actually, I watch a couple of animated series. Hang on.
Wait, are they meant for children though?
Yes, because they're on Cartoon Network.
I don't think that counts.
Why wouldn't that count?
Well,
Cartoon Network's
Network is
definitely more of an
definitely
adult network, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that skews more adult. I'm gonna agree with Lindsay on that.
Okay,
So.
okay, fine. Well,
Because like Archer is animated, but that's not for kids.
but that's not on Cartoon Network. That's on Adult Swim.
Is Adult Swim not on Cartoon Network?
It is on Cartoon Network, but it is only after I think 11 o'clock at
I
night.
feel like I'm getting very confused now.
We're gonna have we're gonna have this conversation.
Yeah.
It is definitely one of those things where I feel like in some animated shows, at least ones that I've watched recently, there is this, oh, they died. Oh, they came back.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of thing.
I would
Rufio
say
was
this.
not going to come back.
I would say
No.
it's like animation is one thing. It's when it's real life people,
Right.
3D people.
Yeah.
That's a different game. And and look, Spielberg this is not like this is new. Like he totally let that kid in Jaws get completely destroyed in front of you.
Yes.
And it would have been a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
worse if the special effects actually worked.
I have
So
feelings about the final battle because I feel like it wasn't a fair battle, if I'm being perfectly honest. But we can get to that later.
Eggs versus swords.
Well,
Come on.
let's talk
Yeah.
about how they get to that point. Like, as Peter's trying to rediscover his humanity, I feel like the only time, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like the only time they really let Robin Williams cut loose and be Robin Williams was when he's getting in the insult fights back and forth with the kids and he's like becoming a kid
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Because I said before, I feel like Robin Williams is a little handcuffed in this. So this is what I mean by this is I feel like he and Richard Pryor live in a spectrum where one of their greatest like superpowers is the way that they can weave profanity into things, and when you take that away from them, you got to have something real special for it to work.
Yeah.
And Pryor never could do it. Williams eventually figured out how to do it, and I'm not talking about when he's doing dramatic roles. I'm talking about when he's trying to do comedy. He got to where he could pull that off. He pulls that off in Aladdin in a lot of ways. There's a few little skirt lines, and then Mrs. Doubtfire is very risque, but it's also a joke. It's a tongue-in-cheek performance in a lot of ways, and so there's a lot of it you wouldn't get if you're a little kid. But
Yeah.
This, I feel like I'm like, man, I wonder like if there's just cuts where he's like, Steven, I just need to get it out. These kids are in Hollywood, they'll hear it. I just need to drop a few. And he's like, yeah, like there's a
Well,
cut
it's
scene.
like putting Joe Pesci in Home Alone, where eventually Chris Columbus had to be like, Joe, you have
It's a kids
to
movie.
stop swearing. This is a kids movie. And he had to go around going, instead of, being Joe Pesci.
He became Yosemite Sam in that movie.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because he just couldn't be in a kids movie properly.
No, but I mean, am I wrong though in that? I
Well,
feel
Robin
like-
Williams,
yeah.
though,
Yeah.
really his big break in the world was on television, on broadcast television in the 70s. He
Mork and
was
Mindy.
Mork
Yeah.
from Ork.
I loved
Yeah.
that show.
He
That was a
knew
good
how
show.
to he knew how to behave himself in front of a
Oh,
camera, in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, no. I'm just
You
saying,
know.
like it's like if you go back and watch the Eddie Murphy stuff from SNL, and then you go watch his stand up. I mean, it's a different world, y'all.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
I know. I've
Yeah.
heard Robin Williams stand up. It's very, very different. I'm just saying I don't think it necessarily is him being handcuffed simply because of, being Mork from Ork. You know?
I kind of see where Jay is coming from because I think what is happening here, at least, because I did notice this a little bit this time when I watched it, is that you kind of had like the Dead Poet Society, like kind of like Robin Williams at
Yeah.
the very beginning. And then you kind of have, it's not like the more childish version of Robin Williams. And you have that sweet spot kind of in the middle, which is the dinner scene, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So I think what is happening is that because he's like kind of becoming an adult to a child, there's that kind of like evolution. And there were some times when he finally was like, I'm a kid again, he was having fun, but I thought some of his fun, for at least when he was like playing with the Lost Boys, I thought it to be a little mean
Hmm.
if I'm honest. But if you read the book, Peter Pan is a little mean. Like, but he
Yeah.
thinks it's in fun, you
The
Right.
know?
original
Yeah.
version of the play didn't even have a Captain Hook. The
Mm-hmm.
villain, quote unquote, of the piece was Peter Pan. Peter Pan is I'm gonna come around and say it. In my favorite character in all of this, in all of it has always been and will always continue to be Captain Hook. I'm a bigger
Mm-hmm.
fan of Captain Hook than I am of the character of Peter Pan. I'm not in favor of children being run through with swords, but anytime it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to Captain Hook and Peter Pan, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, you want to shake his hand with that hook? You go right ahead, Captain Hook. You get that
Yeah.
little bastard kid. Um, because Peter Pan is in and Peter Pan historically on film and on stage, of course, on stage, Peter Pan is always traditionally played by a full-grown woman.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but Peter Pan in the original J.M. Barrie novel is described as still having all his baby teeth. He is a child. They
Mm-hmm.
typically
Yeah.
portray him as preteen in most of the adaptations, probably for reasons of not having to deal with child actors, is but Peter
Yeah.
Pan is supposed to be a child.
Well,
So
Mm-hmm.
he's a child that has been left on an island to himself and is he's just a little brat. So
In the
well,
books, like when Tinkerbell is bullying or pulling, like is like threatening Wendy and like pulling on her and things like that, he finds it hilarious.
yes.
right.
Which
Yeah.
most would be like, that's inappropriate behavior, but no one's telling him to stop, so he thinks it's fine.
Well,
He's
let me
just a
ask you
little
this.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. And Matt, you brought this point up, so it's a good time to ask you, why is this movie called Hook?
Yeah, I
Because
don't it shouldn't
it,
be.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, but I agree with you. That's the most interesting and clearly the person maybe next to Hoskins who's having the most fun in this or whatever. Why is this movie called Hook? Because it's really not about him. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. He's just the
No.
inciting incident of things.
I do think it's a mistitle. Like it's not, you're right. It's still not his story. I think
Hmm.
I don't know what happened there. I probably because they didn't know what else. My guess would be probably they didn't know what on earth else to call it. Like grown up
Yeah.
Peter Pan. Like what are they gonna,
Yeah.
Well, I don't
And
know.
Hook dies at the end. I don't know. Maybe they were
Mhm.
like, it's the end of Hook. So,
I have
I
a
mean,
slightly different theory on that
Okay.
one,
okay.
Do tell.
actually.
Hmm.
So the whole thing is about Peter being an adult.
Mm.
And even the reference of him being a pirate, at least in my opinion, with when you look at the pirates,
Hmm.
they're they're childish adults.
Big
It's
Hmm.
like
time.
what happens when like because in some like movie renditions, it's like if the kids still grow in Neverland, but when they get to a certain age, they have to be moved into being a pirate. Like
I,
I've heard that like
I have a
theory.
theory. I have a theory on that. I'll come to, but go
Mhm.
ahead.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's I know it's got Hook in it. It's about Peter Pan, but it's there's always this story of like without Peter Pan, there's no Hook, and without Hook, there's no Peter Pan. So I
Yeah.
think there's two parts of that. It's like is it because we've heard the story Peter Pan so much, and that's usually the title, that Hook would be very compelling because everyone knows that without Hook or vice versa, there's no either or. And
Mhm.
the other question is that
Mm.
if it wasn't for this scenario, would Peter Pan become Hook?
Hmm.
Mm.
But that's my theory.
So here's my big theory on this. I'll just go ahead and throw it out now. I feel like at some point, if I'm on the same train you are, Ryan, is that a lost boy can become a pirate if they
Hmm.
choose the dark side, if you will.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
cost of that is they do grow up and get older and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And that's like it's the whole uh, point of this movie is that you shed your childhood innocence and you become the evil thing you hated when you were a kid, which is the
Yeah,
absent parent, right? That's the
right.
idea. You're
Mhm.
destined to become.
Mm.
I have this
Mm.
wild theory that Hook and Peter Pan are just two sides of the same coin. They're
Exactly.
they're the same person. in some way, and that all he's doing is destroying the parts of adulthood that have disconnected him from the magical part of life that is childhood.
hmm
That's what
But
happens.
yeah, but even with Hook, he's like, I want to fight. I want to
Hmm.
like his dark twisted game, like versions of games. Like it's
Hmm.
just these are kids that I think don't quite know how to be adults, but they are adults. And
Yeah.
like there's that dark aspect of Peter that is in the book series that just if you transition it a little bit is an adult.
Hmm.
And I think because you can see that a lot with Jack and Maggie,
Oh yeah.
because especially when Hook is trying to convince them to come over to his side, it's just this absolute dark version of whatever a child is worried about with having a parent. Like that whole thing, I didn't really like that didn't click until recently, especially when
No.
Hook is like, "Oh, mommy reads you stories because she wants you to go to bed so that mommy and daddy can have a moment because they were happier before you were born."
Hmm.
And like you see that because there's a little zoom in on Jack where he's kind of like, huh, because that's something he's thinking about.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, what did y'all make of the fact that Hook tries to like th play father to Jack? That I mean, Smee gives him the idea, right? But it's just I'm going to turn his
hmm
children against him, which is a brilliant idea. But it's really I'm going to turn his own son against him. I'm going to do the cats in the cradle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It
Maggie was never going to say yes.
No,
that
but
was yeah.
she's too like Cindy Lou Who. I mean, she's not there, at that
She's
point.
Wendy. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about it,
Hmm.
she's the next generation of Wendy. She was
Yeah.
never going to say yes to Hook.
No.
This was next level psychological warfare the it on the level of I think these were adults that knew how to play mind games, or at least Hook did. And I
Hmm.
think that's I love the kids grew up in air quotes to be pirates and never fully adults. So I mean, yeah, whatever. Kids play mind games all the time. What am I talking about? This
Yes. Yeah.
never
Yeah.
mind. I take it
Think back to
back.
middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think I kept getting the impression that it started with Hook wanting to turn Jack against Peter to get Peter, but then Hook started to really enjoy
hmm
having Jack as a son, or
Yeah.
really enjoy being a dad. And I
I mean, yeah,
think
when
he
they're
was,
playing baseball, they're having fun, you know?
Oh,
yeah, he
yeah, it
was
was.
really
Mhm.
starting to embrace it.
I
Mhm.
mean, he fully was like, no, no, no. After the one person shot the guy who was trying to go for the next base, and he's like, no, no,
Yeah.
No, no, we're
we
playing
follow
by,
Master Jack's rules.
yeah.
Can't shoot people. Yes. That was some good comedy, though. I will say.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I
there was,
mean, I did feel like I had a little reminiscence there, Lindsay. I was thinking about like, oh, it's like Pirate Sandlot all of a sudden.
oh,
You know?
drunk pirate Sandlot, because if you saw him before
Yes.
Jack showed up, some of them were like pirouetting, and I'm like, oh, this is Dizzy Bat all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's Drunk Pirate Sandlot.
Could have
Yeah,
gone
it's
for
I'd
Dizzy
that.
Bat.
watch I'd watch that whole movie.
I think we got our tagline now. Join us for a round of drunk
Hashtag,
Pirate Sandlot.
oh God, Lindsay will win.
I'd
Help me.
watch. I don't think you've ever seen me play Dizzy Bat. I can't hang.
I have a funny story about Dizzy
I
Bat. I'll tell
can't
you
hang.
later. But no, probably Ron and Jay would probably win drunk
I don't know
Dizzy
about
Bat.
that. Well, I don't know what you're saying about us, but okay. So,
Good things. I'm saying positive things.
but that is the manipulation, the idea of turning Jack against his dad, and you get to see like it's all these cuts back and forth during the big fight and stuff of like Jack watching his father, as Peter Pan fighting Hook and winning and losing and going up and down, and he takes the wig off and he finally picks a side and all that. Like it's supposed to be
hmm
this big heartwarming moment, but it just feels so dang telegraphed. I was like, I don't. Maybe I'm just being cynical, but I don't know.
No, I mean, it's kind of crazy because you're like, they were there for 3 days.
Right?
And
Like,
Stockholm
hmm
syndrome somehow kicked in between day one and day three. So day two, all of
Hmm.
this happened. And I did have that moment of there's three moons. How long is a day in
That
Neverland?
was my question. Is
Yeah.
like, are we like? It may have only been 3 days our time. How long is Neverland time?
Right.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
well, we know that, and maybe it's a time travel-y thing, right? Because we know they come back a couple days, within a handful of days because of when they come back, it's still winter. We don't think it's a year later. Everyone
Hmm.
looks pretty much the same. But they talk about the magic of Neverland, and part of that is making you forget your life before Neverland.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So, and then the magic of leaving Neverland is that you forget your life in Neverland.
Hmm.
Right.
So, and somehow Wendy was immune to that, and maybe Toodles kind of always remembered too. I don't know, but that was part of the magic of it. And we see Jack almost immediately start to forget. Maybe
Hmm.
girls are immune to it because Wendy doesn't, or not Wendy. Wait, is that what
Maggie.
was? Yes, Maggie.
Hmm.
Well, Wendy
Maggie
too.
doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, Maggie, Wendy, they don't seem to forget the life before Neverland.
Hmm.
So, but
That's what
all
I
the
was gonna
boys
ask.
do.
I'm glad you brought that up. I had that question. I was like, is this something that like the forgetful part is something specific to the boys, and is that just trying to say that like this the curse of manhood is that you have to give away the child? I don't know, which is stupid, but I'm
Well,
just asking. Is that what they're
Because,
it
saying?
could
yeah,
also be like the trauma because like
Mm.
as well because like Peter talks about like he doesn't really remember his mother and when he does
Yeah,
it's like he was scared to grow up and die.
right.
So I wonder if it might be specifically for the Lost Boys because but I don't know if that necessarily is true because Toodles seems to remember
Hmm.
everything. I mean, he
Right.
comes off as being odd. We'll say odd, but
like he lost his marbles.
yeah, he did lose them. He got them
Yeah.
back,
Hmm.
but
But like that's the whole thing that really it's the thing that ultimately fully powers uh, Peter back up is when he remembers the happiest moment of his life was when his son was
Hmm.
born, his first
hmm
kid, all that stuff, and that's what allows him to fly again. And he's fully,
hmm
he's full Scott Pilgrim on the high level at that point, right? And I
bought those seven evil X's.
right. I got lots of thoughts about those.
Uh,
But yeah, and they're mostly good, but yeah, killer soundtrack by the way. But
oh yes, absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, we haven't talked about it much. Like this is the music in this is it's just your standard John Williams on
Mhm.
autopilot, it felt like to me. Like I
Oh,
I
Hmm.
come
didn't really
on. Standard John Williams on
I You know
autopilot.
what? Here's
Come
the thing
on.
is that I hear a couple notes from this movie and I know the rest of it. There's
yeah.
Yeah.
something that is so endearing about it that
It's not a
is
bad thing. It's just you know
no, but I do think that like certain moments do depend on like the lighting and and the wind. Wind is very powerful in this
there's
too,
lots of
which is
wind in this. Yeah.
lots of wind,
Lots of
and
eye
lighting.
lights. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I love Peter being like, my hair is like kind of like here, and then when I'm flying, my hair looks like Julia Roberts and my wife's more and his wife Moira. Everyone
Yeah.
has this hairstyle.
Everyone's got some mousse. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, man. I think you were responding to my John Williams comment strongest here.
Yeah,
So
no, I love this score. I think it's really good. I don't know. I mean, of course, it's John Williams, so of course it's very good. And I think saying it's just like him on autopilot, I don't know. I think it takes away from just I don't know, maybe go back and listen to it just by itself or something. I don't know. I just think it's
I
good.
I didn't listen to it isolated, so that's a fair thing. I didn't. It didn't take me out of the movie, but it was exactly what I thought would be in the movie, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. I'm just saying like it did its job. It was fine. When I say John Williams on autopilot, I'm talking about Oscar nominated, did exactly what it's
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
Music. It's not necessarily derogatory, but there wasn't anything about it that I felt like was memorable from like if you're thinking about John Williams' memorable scores, I don't think Hook's going to come up on the list for a long
Hmm.
while.
What would be
The-
your first one that comes to mind?
for
Well, I
Williams, I
mean,
mean, you're
Yeah,
talking
for
about
Williams.
like Star
Star
Wars,
Wars,
Jaws,
Okay,
Raiders
fair
of the
enough.
those
Lost
kind of like
Ark,
just
Jaws.
Raiders, like just iconic. Where
Fair
all
enough.
you hear is a motif, and it's like, boom, yeah, I'm there. I'm immediately in that
Okay,
movie.
well, I
Or if
mean,
I
when you've
heard
got
this,
like,
I would have to think, what's that from again? And so because it could be a
oh,
lot of
okay,
things. I mean, not the
okay.
pirate stuff, like that's kind of obvious, but just the standard score. I'd be like, that what was that in this other thing? I would have to think about it. So, but it's fine. Again, I'm sitting here acting like it's terrible. No, it's fine. It's okay. It's not anything that just blew me away, but it doesn't have to all the time either. Not everything's a hit.
Danny
Um,
Elfman.
yeah, well, yeah, it's not that. That's for sure. So not really weird enough to be Danny Elfman, but
No, no.
as someone who's reviewed like an actual Danny Elfman movie or the Elfman family movie, like
Hmm.
yeah, believe me, I've experienced the strange when it
Well,
comes to that.
no, I just meant like there are certain like soundtrack, like there's certain like uh, com compositions that like come to mind, and like they
Right.
won't always be. So like for
Hmm.
me, I suppose like probably Corpse Bride would probably be, for an example, would
Hmm.
not come before like Nightmare Before
Right.
Christmas,
Or
or like Beetlejuice
I
Batman.
or
was gonna say
Batman or anything
literally
like
the
that.
only two
Mhm.
Danny Elfman things I can hum off the top of my head are Batman and Beetlejuice, and beyond that, you've pretty
I
much lost me on Danny Elfman.
Okay, so like the first thing I go to with Danny Elfman is Oingo Boingo and Back to School singing Dead Man's
Oh
Party, but
yeah, I
that's
Oh
just
could
not
my
do
my
Dead Man's
God.
voice.
Party too, but that's not a score.
Just bought
No.
that. Just bought that back to school vinyl last weekend,
There
actually.
you
Did you buy
go.
Uncle Boingo?
Did not disappoint.
Hey, that Jude Cole song rocks. I'm just gonna say that. So,
Yep. The whole movie soundtrack.
oh, you found that
Chef's
on vinyl.
kiss.
That's awesome. That felt
It was at a used record shop, popped in, saw it, and we were like, well,
Oh,
obviously we need
take a
this.
picture of that and send it to Film Strip Brian. He'll get a kick out of
Yeah,
that.
I will. I
So,
will.
he's the
I
vinyl
will.
guy. So,
One
but
other thing I'll say real quick about this movie, and it's something that I'm turning into an old man at this point. We get to the end of this movie,
yeah,
and very early in the movie, the Lost Boys have no problem with the idea whatsoever of killing pirates, right?
no,
And they are kill the
No.
lawyer, they're gonna kill Peter. Rufio's like, all grown-ups are pirates, and all we do is kill pirates, yada yada yada.
hmm.
You get to the end of this movie, and granted, I know it's a family movie, blah blah blah. No swords for these pirates, nothing whatsoever. They're throwing eggs at them, they're throwing tomatoes
Yeah,
at them.
how are they
Hmm.
killing pirates then?
Right,
Which
exactly.
I
And
felt
it's
like that was the fantasy of boys just talking about
I
playing
guess
war, and then when it
so.
came
well,
down to it,
I would agree with you, but there is actually a part where, like, in the movie, where some of them do have swords, and the pirates
Right.
are like, I yield, I'll hand
Yeah.
it to you. And they're like,
Yeah,
woo! And I'm like, I
and
saw
that gets to
Thud
Hmm.
as a cannon, as a ball,
hmm
and that
knocking
goes
people
back to
into the
my
water.
yeah, and that goes back to my other grumpy old man type thing where obviously this is like a child's fantasy and whatever. Like, I'm
uh-huh.
so sorry. Those adults are mowing through those children. If
Yeah.
they're really
Hmm.
dedicated to killing these children, adults with weapons and guns and swords are just mowing through a crowd of children. And
And
Yeah.
if we're really going down this path, they're not even really children. Like some of these children are hundreds of years old.
this is true. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel that, Matt, but I would counter that only with I'm sure the stormtroopers thought that the first time they saw the Ewoks too, and then
I
they got
know.
their
I'm just
asses
They
I'm
thoroughly
still had a
kicked.
I,
gun.
I'm
Oh,
reaching
well,
a point
okay.
in my life where I'm sick of like stories of kids rule all, kids are smarter than
Hmm.
adults, kids are fucking dumb,
So you
man.
hate Home Alone, is what we're saying.
No, I
Oh
don't
my
hate them.
God.
I don't hate them. I'm just
Hey,
like
that kid
I'm
had a gun, a nail
yeah.
gun,
He
but a
did have
gun.
it. He had a
I'm
Yeah.
kind of
gun
like
from
it just
hell.
struck me this time that it's like
Yeah.
they're kind of taking down these pirates after the and again,
Hmm.
maybe you're right. Maybe it was just they were being all like big and tough earlier and they don't really kill pirates. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, this bothered me. I would have been right there with you,
Mhm.
but then there is a part where it's a little bit be I don't know if it's before or after Rufio dies, but Peter is right there, and there are pirates just either dead or incapacitated, like just
Mm,
That
strewn
I
about the ship. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what
yeah.
what killed you?
Well,
yeah.
you know
What
what I
knocked
looked at
you
that
out?
like? I thought of that dream sequence Ralphie has in A Christmas Story where he shoots all the bad guys with the BB
Oh,
gun.
with the BB,
It
when you
kind of
get the
felt
Yes.
BB
like
gun.
that. It felt
Yeah.
like that, like that sort of cartoony
I
world you live in as a kid.
and
But
I
I'm
would
with
have
Matt. Like,
Yeah.
this is annoying when the children are able to take out the full-grown
Hmm.
adults with weapons.
if they had like pulled it like very similar to like the food fight in the dinner,
Yeah.
like the dinner scene where it was
Hmm.
like you saw like fun colors or something like that, I would totally be behind that. But then they kill Rufio.
Yeah,
Hmm.
well, that's the jarring part of this is like
Hmm.
if they had knocked him out, like he had gotten
Hmm.
incapacitated in some way, and he's like, Peter, you must carry on, or like that's what. But they
Yeah.
kill the kid like that.
Yeah.
No, that did not need to happen.
And
Like
it
that's
Yeah.
moves
a
on to get even stranger because it is the end of this movie does get the heaviest into the kind of fantasy dreamlike aspect of this movie because they have the whole fight with Hook and Hook says to Peter,
Mhm.
you think he's taunting him, but he's like, you're not really Peter Pan, you're just a fat drunk old man who hates his wife and hates his children, and you're gonna
Mhm.
wake up and still be that miserable Peter Banning that you just are, and you think he's taunting him, and then Hook, the stuffed crocodile, comes to life for some reason and spews green mist out of his belly, and then
Hmm.
eats
Hmm.
Hook. But where does he go? Because it's a dead stuffed croc.
Hmm.
And so it's like, I don't hate this. I sound like I'm picking on it, but it's like it leans into that dreamlike quality right there in that
Well,
last little bit.
Matt, it's
Hmm.
funny you mentioned that because these are exactly the things Spielberg said. He said, I didn't feel like we had a good way of getting out of Neverland. And he said, I
Hmm.
still don't feel
Mm.
like we do. He said it works, but it doesn't. And
Well, and that shows up at the very, very end, and we're not there yet,
yeah,
but
we'll get there. But
Hmm.
I felt
Here,
the same way that like up until that point, I'm going with it for what it is. Again, I'm like, okay, fanciful, whatever. It's
this is,
pirates and kids.
I think Jack got a little bit of pirate in him
Hmm.
because right before Hook dies, you know that croc is about to fall on him, and the camera pans to Jack, and Jack has this like grin on
Hmm.
his face that he's like, this dude's about to die. And
Yeah.
he is happy about that. And I was like, that's the most unhinged shit I have seen this
That
entire movie.
I feel like Jack is that dark side of like Peter Pan, like that we've seen in the books and even in certain movies, because he's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm totally fine with throwing a baseball in an airplane, and like,
Jack
I'm totally
drew
down.
his,
Yeah.
drew his whole family going down in a fiery plane
I
crash and didn't
know.
even give his father a parachute.
Right?
Exactly.
That kid
I
might be a sociopath.
He
a
might
Like,
be.
little bit.
Well, you know
And
what would have
even
made that
when
work? I would have loved it if Jack like had purposely caused the crocodile to fall on
that
Hook.
would have been a great idea.
That actually would have worked a little bit better for the way that they
Because
play him, because they do play him like
uh-huh.
yeah,
he's this little sinister monster.
I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
works because like Jack is kind of that version of Peter and Maggie is that version of Wendy. Like
Right.
we don't get to see it
Mm-hmm.
that often, but that
Mm-mm.
would have been a great idea. But yeah, you're right, Lindsay. There were definitely some moments where they panned to Jack and I'm like, am I going to see you on Dateline in a
Yeah,
couple of
like I'm
years?
worried.
I'm
Yeah, like
genuinely
this is
concerned right now.
I'm therapy is a must. All right, Matt, get us to the ending here though,
Sure,
because
yeah, because
yeah.
it's always sat the end of this movie has always sat a little weird with me. It is, and
Mhm.
it's funny you mentioned Spielberg saying we had no good way to get out of Neverland because the end of this movie wants to have it both ways. It wants to do the it was all a dream ending, but
Yeah.
also it clearly happened because the
Right.
kids fly into their room, they wake their mother up. They've clearly been missing for several days. We see all of that happen to prove that they've been gone. They flew in, they're home now, they've been gone. but then Peter, who left Neverland, the last we saw him in Neverland was flying away in his Peter Pan getup with his smashing green tights and all, wakes up outside in the snow in the clothes he was wearing the night he was taken by Tinkerbell to Neverland. Smee is there as like a street sweeper, like homeless guy. And Tinkerbell says something about, that space right between sleeping and awake where you still remember what you were dreaming. That's where and I'm like, you can't. And then Toodles, and then when Peter goes up, he still has Toodles' marbles with the fairy dust in, so Toodles can fly away. It's like you can't have it. This is honestly, as much as I love this movie, this is my biggest criticism of this movie. It can't be both ways. Peter waking up outside in the snow and like having the "it was all a dream" ending is completely out of place with everything else that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
What happened like a minute before he woke up out in the snow.
This I'm going to chalk up to Spielberg schmaltz. This is just what it feels like. It's just the thing he does, and sometimes I love him for it, but sometimes it's like this is not what we needed.
I did like the idea of like originally like, oh, the kids know that it's real, and Peter doesn't know if it's real or not. But Matt brings up a very good point because it all just kind of falls apart because at first I was kind of like, oh, is Peter having a "It's a Wonderful Life" sort of moment? And the kids know it's real. And I would have loved that. But like I said, as Matt brought up, Toodles is like throws the pixie dust on him and he's doing spins around Big Ben at the very end of this film. And it's like, okay, well, any thought about that kind of went out the window.
And everyone's laughing like they knew it was this the whole time. And no one's like, what is happening?
Yeah, Moira was totally down with it. She's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, you knew nothing about this, ma'am.
Yeah, like this feels like those moments in Harry Potter when they try to do magic in the Muggle world. It's like, no, we can't do this. Like,
Is Peter Pan just a wizard that decided to go off into his own dimension?
People are asking.
It's a philosophical question.
It feels like, and which
it happens in London.
Yeah.
There's probably like a great online article of which house was Peter Pan in Hogwarts?
Gryffindor. 100% Gryffindor.
Because it almost could have had like a Christmas Carol type of ending. You know what I mean? He wakes up and it's the same day, and you know what I mean? Like it really happened, but nobody else knows that it happened. It's
that whole like the whole allegory, right? Is that did you go through this transformative experience that you can never possibly explain to anyone else?
Yeah,
but it makes you different. That's a tale as old as time, y'all. That's Jonah in the Bible. I mean, that's that could go all the way. But you can't possibly explain it, but you're different from it or whatever. And it either works or it doesn't. And Matt, you've nailed it. Is that this movie is trying to have it both ways when it could have just had it one way and it would have been fine.
Right, but also it was clearly real from the beginning because Wendy remembers going to Neverland. She knows he's Peter Pan. And Moira probably is also aware that he is Peter Pan because one night suddenly a boy was kissing her in her room while she was sleeping.
Also, there's like a creepiness to that we probably need to address.
Yeah, there was he was just like, I'm just gonna kiss her, and I'm like, Wendy, you're not gonna stop. You're not gonna say anything.
Jay and Matt, you've clearly never been teenage girls.
I guess
no.
I'm just saying, if I was a teenage girl with an open window and like, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor Thomas showed up at the end of my bed.
No, I'm passed out. This really attractive.
I probably wouldn't have thought about it a whole lot either.
But I mean, at that point,
that girl was comatose. Her mouth was open, like breathing, like sleep apnea. Come on.
Oh yeah. But at some point, it's not like he could suddenly not fly it. I'm assuming it's not like he suddenly couldn't fly in that exact moment. Like I'm assuming
Yeah.
there was some kind of process. So Moira must have known like a flying boy, like he was a flying
I don't know,
boy.
y'all.
That's fair.
We can
That's
do the
fair. I don't
Freud of
know.
all of this, like his sexual awakening destroys his
I don't,
powers,
yeah. Wow.
Oh, kind of like
Well, I
the
wasn't
Chronicles
thinking
of
about that
Narnia, where
before,
she.
Jay, but now I
Now it's
am.
there, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's kind of like Chronicles of Narnia when the oldest sister puts like lipstick on for the first time or something like that, and
Right.
therefore she can't go through the door
Mm,
again
yeah,
because now she's a
Crawl up.
woman.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Jezebel.
and indeed, she just really liked that pink shade, Lindsay. Leave her alone.
I don't know. There's something to what Lindsay was laying out here, though, that the way Gwyneth Paltrow was laying in that bitch, like, please come now, please.
Well, that
I'm
wasn't
just
Gwyneth
saying.
Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow was
Oh,
Maggie Smith. She
oh,
was like,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
boy,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
she's got like her
yeah.
blanket like draped across her,
Mhm.
like it's like a
boy,
I don't know if
why are
anybody's
you
seen the animated
crying?
movie. Yeah, the animated movie Anastasia, where the woman comes out that's like the fake and she's got the fur and she's like, boy, why are you crying? I know she didn't say it like that, but
This,
still. I was like,
but still, no, you're on to it though, Matt. The ending of this is a problem for me because it's wanting to have everything its own way. But again, I chalk it up to,
Hmm.
and now we're going to sprinkle this with Spielberg's multi-dust,
Yeah.
and that's what happens at the end of one of these movies.
He's like
mhm.
salt baying his
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spielberg schmaltz.
I mean, it's there, y'all. It's there in a lot of his movies. Not all of them, but it's in a lot of them. Well, gosh, Liz, I mean, even though the story of West Side Story is what it is, God, it's all over that movie. Yeah,
We
it's
don't talk about
dripping
that
on
film.
it. Yeah. Yeah, that's in the archives. Go check that
We
out.
do not say its name.
It shall not, it who shall not be named. So me, you, and poor Mike from Amateur Art Tours, I think we scarred him for life with that one.
Uh,
Yeah. So, but
Your favorite,
yeah,
Lindsay.
poor guy. I just didn't like the remake. I hated the remake. I hated it so much.
oh, we all three did. You can
Yeah.
hear
Hmm.
us on it, just destroy it. But
Yeah. I've had
Well,
people ask me
Stephen.
why, and I just said, go listen to the podcast.
yeah.
I don't
Well,
want to
Have fun.
get into
Steven
it.
Spielberg, I guess, finally got his musical since he didn't make Hook a
He
musical.
he did that because his dad was a big fan of the original. He did it for his
I
like
Yeah.
in
know,
memory
I
of his
know,
dad.
and
So
It's
I
very
think his
sweet
heart.
it's
sentiment.
a
No, no,
hundred million dollar homage.
I think
Hmm.
his heart was in the right place, and that's about it.
That's yep. That sums that up.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Cast
Hmm.
poorly,
but well,
Hmm.
yeah. That
among
again.
other
Go
things.
listen to the podcast. There's a lot on
Please
it,
go
but
listen to Film Strip's review of West Side Story, ladies and
yes,
gentlemen.
in the archives wherever you find your fine
Now
podcast.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. I don't even remember why I don't like it. I just remember I don't like it.
Oh, it's there. It's forever in
Good,
recording. But
good.
yeah. But it's not there forever at the end of this movie because we're at it now, and I think it's time to wrap up this show with final thoughts and popcorn ratings. So, what are y'all's for Hook? Ryan, let's start with you since this is all your fault.
Is it my fault? Is it, Jay?
It's your
um,
idea.
it was my idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
so technically it is my fault. But I dragged you three into it, and technically it would have been a fourth person. Poor Ron, I hope you're feeling better.
Yes,
So
get well on.
I hope you get well.
But we got our
Uh,
fourth and Matt. Hi, Matt.
yeah.
Thanks for coming
Hello.
on.
Always.
Um, I there are some issues that I definitely like, as we've brought up in this review, that I have. There's certain things that I'm not the biggest fan of as I've gotten older. I think maybe it's just because, now I'm reviewing that I'm being a little bit of a stickler for certain things. And that being said, I still thoroughly enjoy this movie. There is a special place in my heart for it, even if I'm frustrated with certain aspects, like more specifically with the end and with Julia Roberts. But I love the beginning and I love the middle. I think it is a great, it's not a retelling, but I think that it is something that is kind of lovely to see a story and what takes place after the fact. So for me, I am going to give this a large popcorn. But I will say that it has a lot more butter in it than salt, more specifically at the bottom. But that is my popcorn review. Lindsay?
Oh my gosh, I love this movie. I still like it, even with the plot holes and the problems that we've all already discussed. I think that, and I already mentioned this, watching it as an adult and also having seen it as a child and then a teenager, it's different as you grow with it. It holds different meaning, but for me it held up really well, and I would absolutely recommend it. I can't if it would be I can't imagine someone not seeing it, but if you haven't seen it and you've gotten to this point in the podcast with us, just go watch it. We've already spoiled everything, so just do it. But I will also give it a large popcorn with like a big dollop of whatever that stuff is that they made the pies out of in their imagination in buffet, like maybe like a dollop of
whipped
the
cream
blue
with
Wow.
Cool
like
Whip.
it's whipped cream with like where you take the food dye and you like just
Mm-hmm.
completely
Hear me
tear
out.
open the thing and you pour it completely in.
Hear me out. I feel like it would be a really good salty sweet combination. And I don't think the textures would be that bad, right? You've got a little
It's
bit
a
of
salted
everything.
caramel.
I wonder
It's
Yeah.
a
if
salted
the
caramel with food dye.
Yeah, I wonder if the
Yeah.
whipped cream would stay whipped long in a hot popcorn.
Probably
But you got,
not.
yeah,
Probably
but it's
not.
an
Probably
idea.
not.
But if you
Who
torch
has
it,
wait
oh
a
my
second.
God, Matt.
Who has
Matt,
who has hot popcorn at a movie theater? Okay, it's always
Okay,
cold
fair.
by the
Okay,
time
that's
you eat
also
what
it.
if you
fair.
take, what if you want to be bougie and you take a torch to it? It's kind of like a creme brulee sort of thing.
We did the creme brulee popcorn.
Creme brulee
Tie
popcorn.
dye. It's tie dye popcorn that you get like at those like
The
fun little niche
the
Yeah,
niche
yeah,
places,
yeah.
and you
the
torch
tie
it.
dye
Yeah.
part is the Guy Fieri part of all of it. But
I
Yeah.
love Guy Fieri. Matt was getting what I was putting down
yeah.
Little
with
bit,
your
little bit.
hook
I know what you're
hand.
talking about.
With
Yeah,
your
yeah,
hook
yeah.
hand.
Okay, all right. But Matt, what about you?
I mean, come on, guys. I love this movie. I picked on some parts of it, but I do love this one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, the poster is one of the movie. I have several movie posters hanging in my home. It's just all the movies I love. I have posters hanging in my home, and so this poster is hanging in my home. It's wonderful artwork. It's a wonderful movie, in my opinion. And of course, I mean, it's got some issues, and I can overlook those. I haven't grown so old and cynical yet, despite my describing myself as growing old and cynical several times. I haven't grown so old and cynical yet that I watch movies for the problems of them. I watch movies because I want to enjoy them. This would make a great double feature with the remake of this film that came out a few years ago titled Christopher Robin, if you've never seen that movie. That movie is Christopher Robin grows up to be a very busy business type person who has a job that keeps him away from his wife and kids and ends up back in the 100 Acre Wood having adventures with Winnie the Pooh, who teaches him how to rediscover his childness and the importance of spending time with his family. Also a very good movie. So check that one out too. This is one of those extra large popcorn movies for me. I'll continue to watch this one for ever and ever. So
I gotta say, as I'm sitting here, and you can't see this on the audio podcast, Matt is holding his hook very proudly right now.
Hmm.
So check out the socials to that. And I'm glad that y'all all love it and that you still can come back to it and love it. Again, I didn't have any connection to it as a kid, so yeah, I've seen it twice now in life, right? And I will say this about it: there's a lot of emotional weight in it, particularly the opening. I feel like the setup of this is great. Like it really is. It's a clever way of getting back into this story and how to get to it. And while the middle of it is a little here and there and stuff, there's a lot of fun in it. Particularly because Hoffman and Hoskins, as we talked about, are so much fun together and they do so much on the screen together. And Robin Williams at moments you see what made him great, and you get to do it, and the kids are fun. Like there's some fun in it. We've come up with twisted ways to make it a little more interesting or maybe more psychotic. I don't know, but
both.
a little of both. But
Both.
but Julia Roberts sucks. I'm just
We
saying
didn't
it
we
again.
didn't even bring up there's a scene where Captain Hook decides he's going to commit suicide. It's one of the
Oh,
best
we
things
didn't talk about
It's a
that.
great Smee
with
scene.
my
Yeah.
life is always, don't try to stop me this time, Smee.
Smee,
Don't
stop
you
me.
dare try to stop me,
And this
Smee.
is
Don't you, Smee, try to stop me.
yeah.
Get up off your ass and get over here. I'm committing suicide.
I love Smee because he's like, not again.
I mean, yeah,
This
he's done it
again.
sometimes. Yeah, again, they're great together. They really
They're
sell a
such a
lot of this.
they're
They're such a
so
great couple.
cute.
They are. They
Yeah,
are.
they're cute. They're a cute
It's
old couple.
yeah. Like I said, Julie Roberts sucks. It's not entirely her fault, but she's terrible in this. And the whole thing they do with Tinkerbell is terrible. I just didn't need the unrequited love
Oh
and
my God, we
everyone in
never
love with
even talked.
Peter.
Another thing we didn't even talk. How did she suddenly grow big?
She had
And
magic
I don't
powers. We
know
talked about
why
that.
I
It was
don't know
magical
why she
physics.
did.
Yeah.
Poor,
Yeah.
poor Tinkerbell though, because she's like kissing him and he's like, Moira! And the look on her face, I'm like,
Yeah,
wow,
that's not
again.
how to win a woman's heart, y'all.
Well,
No.
So
because
let's just
poor
say
Wendy
that.
went through that too. And he's like,
Yeah,
Right?
she did.
But the thing
I
about it
don't
is
get it.
this movie, though, when it gets to the finale, it just the only thing holding it together is if you've got nostalgia for it and vibes, because it's a big swing, but it's messy for me in the end, and it just misses the landing, and that's rare because Spielberg usually sticks them. Like he's not Stephen King, no offense, Matt, but where he doesn't stick the landing so much.
We're gonna
Matt,
someday. I am. Oh, don't even. No, that's a myth, and you're gonna get me started, and we don't have time for that tonight.
there's 10
We can make
reviews in the
time for a
archives
Matt
about it.
rant.
Oh, can we call it a Matt rant?
Carve
Oh,
some
those are
time out.
legendary.
They're
You know,
But
you know
maybe
the
for
rule
legendary.
another
well enough
Just
day.
yet,
guest
Ryan.
stars and they rant.
This podcast is long enough as it is.
Yep.
And that's the other thing about this movie. I feel like this movie's 20 minutes too long. Like I feel like you could
It
trim it down
is.
a little bit and
Yeah.
it would be lean and it would work. And it would completely work if you could. I don't know how. You got to somehow fix the ending where it doesn't seem like they're having their cake and eating it too, like we talked about. That doesn't work for me, but it's not terrible. And I'm glad I finally rewatched it after all these years. And it is completely watchable. It is fun. I could see people having a lot of fun with this. I actually had some fun with it, even though I didn't love it the way y'all did. I'm going to give it a really strong medium popcorn, but like that, I caught it the first matinee where it's fresh. Like they had to repop it, for the day. So I've
Mm.
got the fresh medium, and it's just the right amount of butter and salt through the middle. The ending of it, though, like I've still got some old kernels from yesterday, so that's where I kind of just put the bag away and I'm done. So, but it's not terrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen by any means, and it works. Except when it doesn't, which is the end. But it's fine. If you let that go and you just let it wash over you, it's totally fine and it works. But what really worked was being able to talk about this with y'all. It's been an absolute blast. Ryan, again, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for bringing a fun one to start the fun with here. And hey, we're kicking this off in December, and somebody on this podcast has a book that's really timely for this time of month. So Matt, tell folks.
Yeah.
I sure do. And I mentioned this the last time I was on the show. Boy, I feel like a fraud every time. And I know I'm not because I wrote the damn
Oh,
thing.
you
And
wrote
it's
the
actually
book.
something people can buy. I have a Christmas book, everybody. I wrote it. It is titled Santa in His Own Words by Santa Claus with help from Matt Spalding. It is out there. It is on Amazon.com. It is on BarnesandNoble.com. I believe it's even on Target.com. I've got to check
Nice.
where it got
Oh.
distributed to. But
Nice.
you can find it out there. I'd sure appreciate it if you bought it. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, please leave it a review wherever you bought it. It helps other people find it. And believe me, I'm a self-published author. I'm promoting this book. I make like $1 off of every copy sold or something stupid like that. I'm not doing this to make money. I'd like people to read it and enjoy it. So.
Well, we're always glad to have you talk about that book. It's a good thing, and it's
thank you.
neat to meet people that have done something like that. That's a medium I've never conquered, so I think that's a tremendous. And Matt, tell folks where they can find you swimming around on the internets.
If you want to hear me chatting with my buddy Justin about all things just general pop culture, toys, comics, movies, TV shows, you can find us at Two Broke Geeks Podcast. our schedule hasn't been super regularly, unfortunately. We live in different time zones, and I work mostly days and he works mostly nights. So it's kind of hard to find time to record, but we still do put out episodes where we're getting up there towards episode 400, which,
Nice.
will probably be, I think, next year. So
Fantastic. Well, again, it's been a blast having you on, Matt. As always,
always good to be here.
we'll definitely have you back on again. Maybe for something more contentious, like one of the 50 movies we've referenced sometime tonight. Or I don't know. I may open up the Stephen King vault again one day when I feel real froggy. But that's a long time ago. But hey, folks, of course, you can find and follow this show on social media at Film Strip Pod. We share announcements about upcoming shows and all kinds of other stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. Hey, check out our YouTube channel. Sometimes you get to see video podcasts of us. Sometimes it's just the pod there, but our entire archive is there. So check all that. Of course, everywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find us. And as Matt said, we'll echo it. Leave us a positive review. Helps other people find the show. We are a completely independent podcast. So we are completely by word of mouth. So if you like it, share it. And if you don't, keep that to yourself. It's holidays. Be nice. but if you do like us and stuff, please leave us a review. It helps us feel really good about ourselves. We've got some fun things planned for the rest of December. I'll go ahead and tell you now, we're coming up on a big James Bond anniversary, and our buddy Carmelita Valdez McCoy and I recorded a very special episode of a Bond movie that is coming up on the 60th anniversary. So that'll be out soon. And then we've already got it in the can, a super fun film strip sessions where we talk about favorite genres of Christmas movies. Matt, you're on that with me and Ron and Linz. And so that'll be fun. And then, of course, we are going to get into some holiday trash before it's New Year's. So just sit tight and get your Jamie Lee Curtis fun ready. That's all I'll say about that. And we'll be back again soon with lots more fun down the road. And of course, if those things aren't to your liking, no worries. 400 plus episodes in the archives. I promise you there's something in there you like, something you've seen before. And we would appreciate it. And hey, check us out on other shows too. Ron, Linz, and I and Matt are all fortunate enough to have friends in the pod world that bring us on to different shows. So catch us on that. If you're curious what those are, just look at our social media. We retweet those and repost them, and then we'll get mentioned about those as well. So until next time, thank you so much for listening to Film Strip.
Thank you for listening to Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Film Strip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.